You're muted.
That's a good start. Better than normal. What's up?
Nothing at all. I'm watching Berserk, and it's great.
That's the one that Keanu Reeves' name attached to it?
No, I don't think so. Does it?
Berserk does.
Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. In what way?
It's an anime, right?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves. Berserk or Berserk?
Berserk.
BRZRKR. Berserker is a comic book that's written by Keanu Reeves.
Oh, this is a different. I'm thinking Berserk, like BERSERK. It's like it's an anime from '97. It's a different.
I'm getting them mixed up then.
Oh.
I was incorrect. I watched Rambo 1 and Rambo 2.
Yeah?
I never actually really watched those right from the beginning. I felt I had to watch them after listening to John Lynn talk about preppers. Christopher singing Prepsy logging on. Prepsy. What's up, bottom surgeries?
Gross.
Unshame everything.
That was a stupid thing that Tanner said in his claymation thing. Of course,
yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he was talking about, but yeah, he goes, unshame everything. Well, not everything.
Man, I listened to that whole thing, and boy, oh boy, did I sure get bored.
I got about halfway through it. It was just them talking about how high they were.
No, that's about what it was. And they put claymation, the effort to claymate that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I guess you got extra time on your hands sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I guess with AI or something, you do it pretty easy nowadays or something, but that used to be a lot of work to do something like that, and to do it to something so bleh. That was so great last week with the fat shaming. I will never forget that image. It is burned into my memory. What fat shaming?
Oh, we ended it on that image of all those obese women
right at the end.
Wrongs. Yeah.
Right at the very end.
I'm seeing those like every day now.
Oh, you got yourself in an algorithm for a big booty
it's
hug?
like I'm just in a couple groups that are just fat shaming groups.
Oh.
They're just, that's like a thing that there's really fat butt women who just compete with their butts out in different, like there's a basketball one.
That just reminded me that a bunch of guys on my mission had a call that they'd call out. And this was on the mission. A bunch of different missionaries. Of course, we were Mexico, and maybe the president didn't understand or something. But some of those guys would yell out. One guy would yell out, "Big booty ho!" and the other guys would yell out, "Hump with it." They did. I don't know where they got that or where they started it from, but that was all over my mission, and we laugh at them doing it. But,
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, may as well own a horsewoman. I was just listening to Jillian Michaels with Gad Sad and them talking about Lizzo, and Lizzo's the most healthy in the world. And I guess Jillian Michaels is pretty canceled now after all of her time on Biggest Loser stuff.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because she tells people that she got in trouble for telling Lizzo that she was overweight or something.
Wait, so a woman, Jillian Michaels, known for fitness, she just says you're unhealthy, you're overweight, and
yeah, she said that to Lizzo, something on Twitter, and she got all canceled and piled on for it.
Oh, well, that makes me think of what Zev was talking about. They were talking about boob jobs and stuff, and that's why Tanner said, yeah, if like your truth brings you to whatever it is, like if it's getting a boob job or whatever.
Jeez, man.
Jesus, man. And that's when he said, unshame everything.
Well, I hope they do. I hope it all gets unshamed. Uh, this all kind of has all these different floaty ideas I sort of have together could halfway be Halloween ideas, but not really. But Carrie Smith covered the Satanic Panic yesterday.
Ooh.
Then John DeLeon's talking about visions, visions of our what is that called? Glory, visions of glory, or something like that, and
Oh
all the
yeah.
vision and vision experience having people for the preppers, and how the Longhouse Church better take care of these preppers and come down on them. Gee willikers, it's all dangerous. And then what was the last thing that you could kind of half pretend it was like a Halloween thing? Oh, RFM and those guys had an episode about spooky experiences, and they talked about conspiracy theories, and it's all fun and games now. Our Coast to Coast, they did their Coast to Coast episode, and
Oh man, that's fun.
was watching Donnie Darko. I just watched Suspiria. Did you ever see that?
No.
It's
I
an
haven't
old
seen any of these.
Italian
I
film.
haven't seen Donnie Darko. I haven't seen any of the Rambos. I'm
Man, you're
uncultured.
just behind, man. All you do is watch those big booty hoes. And we got to have an intervention, man. If you're just watching the big booty hoe TikToks all day and all night.
All day, all night, big booty. It's like there's there's like an entire subset of the population that got way too obsessed with ass, which not knocking ass here. It's nice, I guess, but like, holy hell, they act like there's no such thing as too big of an ass. And
Yeah.
when I can, like, when I could physically curl up into a ball and fit inside one of your butt cheeks, and your ass is grotesque.
Oh man. I also I can't even really talk about it, but I still want to talk about it. Like I can't believe how coddled the society needs right now. And you already know the thing that I just went through today, and my
Yeah.
brain's still sizzling on it. But I guess I could probably say it vague enough. But I had somebody crying today because another employee asked them on a date, and that's seriously the entirety of this thing.
You're saying them to hide the genders, but like, who's not gonna guess?
Coming and turning into the admin, taking them to the Longhouse because he asked you on a date.
No,
Oh,
that's why unshame everything is the worst idea ever, right? Because I was explaining to people at work today what a truly shameless man looks like. Because there was a guy I worked with who was a truly shameless man. He lied about everything. He stole anytime he could. He was a piece of shit. We had my dad worked there before I got there, and when I was in like high school, we go to this work event, and they bought these cotton candy stands and just gave it free to the workers, at this park. And we get there, and this dude Tom, he's leaving as we're getting in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they're giving away free cotton candy. They're just giving it away." We're like, "Oh cool." He's got like two gigantic black trash bags full of it, and we get there, and it's gone because he took all of it. Like they said, "Here's free cotton candy for everybody," and he shamelessly took all of it, took it home, and sold it to the kids in the neighborhood. Like he's the only person I've ever met that stole literal candy from literal babies and then sold it to other babies. I'm like, that's if you want to unshame everything, you gotta unshame that because he didn't break any rules,
yeah.
but that's their unshaming everything. Maybe we need a little bit of fat shaming, I think.
Yeah, probably so.
Charles wants an explanation of the Longhouse.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to it because I'm gonna pull up. I'm thinking about starting up a page, just because I've never wanted to start a page. It'd be too much of a pain in the ass. But then I thought, what if you could do a page based off the Longhouse, and you could just completely mod it as if you were a Longhouse den mother, and say, boy, oh boy, anytime somebody says some stupid like quote or thing that is I don't know what, babysitting somebody else or jumping on some, shaming somebody else for something stupid. Usually, because you're saying that we need more shaming for stuff like that, but usually Longhouse stuff is shaming you for having your own opinions on anything whatsoever. But
if you're strong enough in your opinions and your opinions are good enough, then you can power through the shame. Shame isn't always a good thing. But man, we need to bully those people who type admin into the comments section anytime they think somebody broke a rule.
That's just what I'm saying is like, what if the admin was somebody who came down and like condescendingly, like the church lady said to him, "Thank you for reporting this. You are the world's best little commissar. Thank you for doing this. I'm so happy you're here to report to the world that somebody out there had a modicum of their own thought." Let's see here. The reason I was thinking about doing it is that there's all this drama between Latter-day Lobsters and Thoughtful Saints because Jacob called out them for misrepresenting the reason why they kicked him off the page and then lying about him a whole bunch, which looks like they kind of did lie about it and misrepresent it, to say it honestly. But it ended up just being a bunch of drama between them. But now they're going to have this Sunday at 3. They're going to have a chit chat for charity. It's going to be like a YouTube boxing match or something.
Is it all going to Jacob's favorite LGBTQ plus charity?
Yeah, I guess so. It's going to help the fires in Maui, they said.
Oh, well, that's pretty bipartisan, I guess.
I've made this page, but I haven't really started yet. I've only invited the guys on here so far, really. And the Latter-day Longhouse, and it's got the same picture up front of it. And this is the description from the Longhouse from First Things Substack by this guy named Lomez. It says, the Longhouse refers at once to our increasingly degraded mode of technocratic governance, but also to wokeness, to the progressive, liberal, and secular values that pervade all major institutions. More fundamentally, the Longhouse is a metonym for the disequilibrium afflicting the contemporary social imaginary. The historical Longhouse was a large communal hall serving as the social focal point for many cultures and people throughout the world that were typically more sedentary and agrarian. In online discourse, this historical function gets generalized to contemporary patterns of social organization, in particular the exchange of privacy and its attendant autonomy for the modest comforts and security of collective living. The most important feature of the Longhouse and why it makes such a resonant and controversial symbol of our current circumstances is the ubiquitous role of the den mother. More than anything, the Longhouse refers to the remarkable overcorrection of the last 2 generations towards social norms centering feminine needs and feminine methods for controlling, directing, and modeling behavior. Well, isn't that special? We recognize the Longhouse has long been established in the world of the Latter-day Saints, unbeknownst to those within its grasp, both the saints still in the house and those silly apostates out to pasture who we let think that they actually got away. Well, how convenient for you that we have created a page to post and discuss our constant reminders that you are all in this for life, which should give you comfort because we are here to ease you into a reduction of your free will as much as possible to keep you safe from Satan. Now open wide and take your medicine. That's the Longhouse. It's the safetyism, and the Dana Carvey church lady running all organizations, your HR person shaming you, some lady running to HR because somebody asked her on a date and we got to go shame that guy for that sort of thing. But there it is right there, the Longhouse. That just, do you not just feel that face looking at you at all times whenever you're saying something on the internet? Like, that's what the point of like Jacob Hansen getting kicked out of Latter-day Lobsters was the same thing. It was basically, oh, you offended some women in here. You're getting kicked out of the free speech Latter-day Lobsters because you offended some women. And it was a pretty straightforward post. He made a whole blog about it. He just said that all he said to her is like, there's this book called Against Empathy, which I've read too. Have you come across that book at all?
Who wrote it? Because that sounds familiar.
Against Empathy. I forget the guy's name.
I can check.
But the book kind of goes into detail about how empathy is not always the greatest thing in the world. There's lots of ways empathy can go haywire. This is going to be a trans group then. The admin should be a church lady profile that moderates in that style. That's what I'm saying. There should be the den mother. We're going to make a den mother, and that den mother is going to moderate like a den mother. But people are allowed to talk about whatever they want to talk about. But the den mother is going to put a shiny little sticker and say, "Isn't that special?" on anybody who reports anybody. Like, oh, if you reported somebody, here's a sticker for you. Isn't that special?
Hey, if it's a group with you as the moderator, it might be one of the few groups Flip doesn't get kicked out of.
We'll kick him out. The den mother.
We'll kick him out. Yeah,
we'll kick him out every other day. We'll start every day kicking Flip out.
It must be some. And I'm always actually shocked with the tiny amount of power that can go to people's heads. Like, I see this at work. We have our supervisors, but below that we have our leads. And a lead is like any dipshit could be a lead, right? Like, I'm a lead. But a lot of people out there, when they become a lead, they all of a sudden think they're part of management, and it goes to their head. They're like, "Oh, this is my crew. I'm running it." And I feel the same way about Facebook moderators and admins or whatever. I mean, Reddit's the worst. They're power hungry on nothing.
I really feel like when I get the concept of the Longhouse down, I feel like it's everywhere. I feel like everything is a Longhouse. Like, every workspace is a Longhouse. Every internet forum is the Longhouse. You go to any communal organization, before long it becomes the Longhouse. It just, everything, when it's a social environment and social, that's going to say the age of Aquarius is, as Jordan Peterson says it, female aggression takes precedent in social situations over just male aggression, which is just aggression, which is one of the strange things about like the current day warring we see going on. It's almost like they talk about whatever fourth generation warfare, or how they call it, fifth generation. That whole entire thing is more based around perception and, pearl clutching than actual power. It's like, who's allowed to make a move because who's the bigger victim. And it's we're in Longhouse wars now.
The war is one of the craziest things ever. It's just people like Palestine just constantly baiting Israel into doing things so they can get it on camera. Yeah, it's both of it. It's like, okay, who's gonna be the bigger victim? Who's gonna get the other guy doing the worst thing on camera? It's like they're more concerned with losing the social war than they are with the actual physical war.
Exactly. And it's almost to a point where, like, you should fear. I heard somebody reporting, and this was on, I think it was on Tom Wood's show, or it was on Liberty Lockdown, but one of the guys is claiming that one of the released hostages claimed that most of the people that got killed in that, when that party got raided, was coming from Israeli bullets. That's what they claimed that person said. But there's not that's like some conspiracy, but I would say that, like, in a war where optics are the worst, at any point where you're getting slaughtered, who knows which side would be slaughtering you for their optics, because they get to frame it however they want to frame it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you get taken as a hostage or something like that, you're like, oh boy, saving me is not gonna do anything for them. Like, getting killed grotesquely, whether they frame it as that or the other person does it as that, that's going to serve them. That's going to help them advance their war machine. So I don't know. That's part of the strange sideways world of the Longhouse wars that we're in. The perception is they need the atrocity. They need the victimhood. Like, it's a war for victimhood out there. And I saw the Distributus mentioned last night, because one of the things that became real apparent to me, I don't know if to you too, but I mean, it was always kind of there. But so much of the way they talk about Israel and the Jews nowadays from that Jewish side is that it sounds a whole awful lot like some of the tenets of critical race theory. You know what I mean? In the sense of
there's allies and anti-Semites. Those are the only two options.
And we saw the Distributors put it up. There was a post by this lady who said Christians need to check their religious privilege, that they haven't been persecuted like the Jews have been, and And it's like the language is right out of that same world.
It's pissing me off. I'm noticing it everywhere. The social justice speak, and it's in people that I used to like listening to. Like people who are still probably considered right wing, are using it as like that's really a position of privilege that you're like. I'll do that sometimes sarcastically. I'll be like, "Oh, you're privileged" or whatever. But holy, I don't know. I don't have a team ever again. I just
Yeah,
get
it's
to
been
watch
real
this
weird.
shit, man.
Yeah, and it's not like Hamas isn't just loaded up with that, teaming up with that same shit too.
Oh yeah, I mean Hamas already talked. Hamas called us racist for George Floyd. What the fuck? You guys toss gays off buildings. You can piss off.
It's such a weird time. I'm going to pull up this other thing later about so many different people are talking. There's been bets among different groups that will the elites ever put the woke away, or are they stuck with the wokeness? And that Jared guy from Wisecrack did a pretty good episode on it. But
some of you have not been speaking up about this, and your silence is deafening. And if you do not know what you are talking about and you aren't affected by it, you should not be speaking up about this. And the fact that you are not speaking up about this terrifies us. And you need to stop speaking about things that you don't know anything about. And if you don't know about this, you need to educate yourself. And now is the time to reach out and ask us questions. But we are not here to educate you. And you need to know these things. And if you do not know these things, you should not be adding your voice to the conversation. And the fact that you are not raising your voices right now terrifies us. Because no matter what you're doing, you're dumb and you fucking suck. And some of you have.
No, that's fantastic. That's all it is. It's a Kafka trap ideology. It's just confirmation bias. What I already know is that you are bigoted in some way. You are oppressive. I have to be angry with you. No matter what you do, if you talk, I hate you for talking. And I can post hoc rationalize why I hate you for that with my shit ideology. I can also post hoc rationalize why I hate you for not talking.
Mm-hmm.
Newsrooms, HR departments in disarray, entertainers unsure which opinion best fits their brand. There can only be one thing: another disaster in the Middle East. Let me just get this out of the way up front. This video is not meant to inform your position on the current horrifying conflict in the Middle East. There will be no moral claims made about Israel, Palestine, or Hamas here. There's plenty of that elsewhere on the web, so if that's what you're looking for, I am sure the algorithm will indulge you. Rather, I'm going to focus on how the response to the event could be shifting the ideological landscape, and specifically how it has the potential to realign tribal sentiments and even usher in the end of what some call woke ideology. And by the way, I know many are critical of using the term woke because it runs parallel to language espoused by bad actors looking to discredit the entire left project. But I find little value in constantly retreating from terms, whether it's politically correct, social justice, or now woke. Too often, shifting signifiers conveniently functions as an excuse to not engage with what it signifies, which in this case is a phenomenon worthy of criticism. So,
I like the way you framed that right there, at least. Like, shut up about trying to dodge words or get up in their heads about that. You know what we're talking about here. So, but one of the things he points at, and we've mentioned it before because it comes in that libidinal economy book, but the not leotard, this one's Lacan's idea of jouissance. And jouissance is the joy, that the joy goes past. You feel guilty for your joy, so the joy, to enjoy it, you have to take it beyond to where it becomes a point of pain, and then you start enjoying the pain that your joy caused you. And that's, in Lacan's view, that's where weird flogging world stuff comes from. But he also kind of points at it using Zizek
being a rebel,
talking about like straws, those crappy straws that they needed to get rid of because they were killing the planet.
Mm-hmm.
If they had good straws in place of it, that wouldn't be good. Like, they had to have crappy straws in place of it because they wanted to enjoy suffering for the thing that they traded out. Does that make sense? and that's their jouissance. They enjoy what they make worse, and it's a luxury thing. And I think he's got like a good point with that whole deal. Let me see if I can see a little bit of it.
Let me explain. Zizek, via his mentor Jacques Lacan, draws a distinction between the terms pleasure and enjoyment. Pleasures are gratifications like eating good food, getting a massage, sexual activity, and so on and so on.
And so on and so on.
Enjoyment is something different. Another word Zizek uses is jouissance, a kind of pleasure in pain, a sensation that is critical to the ideology. For Zizek, the way that we qualify ourselves for membership in a community, whether it be a political, corporate, or social community, isn't by following the rules, it's knowing how to bend them. As such, a system of power under which these communities exist will set up sanctioned transgressions or simulations of threats to the status quo that seem emancipatory, but in reality only serve to reinforce power dynamics by consolidating your identification within the system. Importantly, the allure of these condoned transgressions are that they produce enjoyment by making you feel rebellious. For example, Zizek's analysis of Full Metal Jacket, the Kubrick classic about Marines during the Vietnam War. The film depicts soldiers cracking vulgar jokes,
I want to slip my tube steak into your sister.
expressing sarcastic sentiments that reveal their delusion with the mission,
He's going to say the war is now unwinnable.
Does this mean that Aunt Margaret's not coming?
and outright violating the rules. However, these transgressions don't threaten the war effort. In fact, they strengthen it. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, their drill instructor, says it's his mission to make them act not as individuals, but as a corps. Making your bed, doing your steps, hitting the target, etc. isn't enough to make you part of the corps. It also requires telling dirty jokes, trivializing your duties, and taking place in prohibited ritual punishments. These sanctioned transgressions are an essential part of the system's ability to function because they give soldiers a hit of enjoyment, a scandalous stimulation that comes with risking punishment. The enjoyment makes them feel psychologically compensated for participating in a war that they're otherwise actively against. This form of enjoyment bribes them into participating in the ideological process that perpetuates the war effort. Think back to the paper straw. It's not just that the paper straw purports to help the planet that explains its ideological appeal. The fact that the straw sucks is essential. That it gets soggy, floppy, and dissolves in your drink is part of the benefit because you get to feel like you've gone through the token amount of unpleasantness to have prevented still inevitable climate catastrophe. By suffering, you've done your part, and this is a form of enjoyment. This is why white liberals under wokeness love to humiliate themselves, love to check their privilege, love to undermine their perspective. It's enjoyment, a pleasure in pain, that gives them, in Sokol's words, psychological benefits.
Yeah.
Have we not passed the point of no return yet with climate disaster? Because I swear there was several points of no return, and I like 2023 has got to be way, way beyond that. And so at that point, why try? You know, because they never say what happens when you go beyond the point of no return. They're like, if we don't do this in the next 3 years, then catastrophe. But they're always very vague about it. That makes it sound like the world will end and blow up and be like people. But does it just mean that sea levels will rise? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you showed me that Gavin Newsom or somebody did went to China to talk to them about climate change. So I think we're good. Like it's gonna get safe.
Oh yeah, China surely gives a fuck about the environment.
Yeah. He says we're gonna keep being partners in this, which is they haven't been at all in any way yet. So I don't know. Like, all right, you know. Just waiting for Darth Vader to show up. Sorry, Flip can't make it tonight. I don't want to tell too many tales out of school, but it's probably fine because he's mentioned the guy several times on the podcast. He has this schizophrenic friend who he mentioned several times that like if all he did was reinforce that guy's beliefs in the world, bad things would happen with that guy. Well, that guy passed away, and Flip is at his wake. So, but. He never had to reaffirm his delusions to save him, but unfortunately, that fella didn't make it through, and so Flip had to go to that tonight. So,
Bummer.
Yeah. So there's a chick at work who finally got this position. Wait, let me back up. Ask them to be more empathetic. Bro, there's a chick at work who finally got a position of power. What does she do to get married? Completely full of hubris. A community cannot exist without some sort of policing by the group through the leaders. True or false? Yeah, there's got to be policing.
Yeah.
Just call it the Clone Wars because that's what it is. Empathy can make it confusing, and if you need to fire someone and you keep relating to their feelings, empathy is tough. But like, I don't know if do you have the so why Jacob got kicked out of the Latter-day Lobsters group had something to do with. He was talking to some lady about, well, she brought up in the middle of some discussion about some sort of male toxicity or something like that. The lady said, "You're talking to somebody now who's been raped." You know, she said it herself. Just that sort of thing that just kind of throws any conversation off the rails.
Yeah.
And so then Jacob later came back and gave some quotes from that book about how empathy can actually derail people getting at truth, because you'll go off on tangents and lose the subject and that sort of stuff. That book's all sorts of full of quotes like that, because I mean, one of the things that I'll frequently pull from it is the concept of like a mother bear. Like a mother bear has full empathy for her little cubs, and what that means is that she's going to attack anything that gets anywhere near them. But the problem is that not anything that gets near them is actually a predator for them. So they'll just rip to shreds anything that gets anywhere near those little cubs. And you could see people who have certain worldviews in the world where they're infantilizing something and think they have the empathy and they're taking care of it or something. Or Kara. I mean, when I hear the word empathy, I almost can't not think of Kara
I know.
saying that, because she basically says like that's the worldview that saves all. You must have the empathy. Just waiting for and that's a flip. Yeah, the real political factions are if you are part of the Longhouse and not parties don't really matter anymore. Privilege is something you look in the mirror and check yourself, not something you tell someone else to check. Yeah, if you guys know the Distributist, I mean, he went off on that last night. He was pissed. He was talking about a lot of different stuff, and he went off on Shapiro and Peterson and a lot of different stuff, but he was quite upset about that stuff. Words don't have meaning. How dare you say that? I heard some kids say, "Y'all don't even know my trauma."
Yeah.
Oh man, everything's therapeutic language, which I actually have some clips from the Lynn and the Preppers where everything turned to, I got away from Preppers and now I'm properly in therapeutic language land and say all the things. It almost sounds like, to me, when people start talking about their therapeutic world now, to me it sounds like, to be my testimony and your mommy. That's what therapeutic language sounds to me like nowadays already.
It does. Well, you got to check a certain amount of boxes, just like you do with the testimony. You got to talk about Joseph Smith. You got to talk about the Book of Mormon. You got to talk about the current prophet. You got to love your family. You got to check your privilege. You got to acknowledge that. You got to apologize. You got to give land back, land acknowledgments. I don't know. You got to acknowledge the hierarchy and how your voice is not great here, but at least there's a voice talking about it because I'm coming from a position of privilege. It's all just, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like what Christopher's saying here, moms, be kind, dad, toughen up. You do. You need you need both sides of it. I'm not saying that like the whole world needs to toughen up, but part of the Longhouse world is we've got no free range people anymore. That's part of the coddling of the American mind. And Jonathan Haidt talking about kids who don't go out and play in the world anymore. Actually, I saw them post a lot of different things just recently. If you follow Jonathan Haidt's Twitter, they've had a lot of recent findings in social science, which if you can trust any of that anymore, but just saying that 100% major amounts of psychological well-being or not falling into different types of mental illness had to do with how much free range play young children had. If you had, and it couldn't be just complete free range, of course, but if they were coddled too much, it's causing mental illness. And now all we're doing is tripling down the coddling and paying the therapist for it. Did you ever follow the Satanic Panic stuff?
Not really. It was kind of after my time for the most part. I don't.
This is a pretty good episode, and I don't. Carrie might be. We might be able to get to talk to Carrie in the ex-Mormon world here a little bit, maybe or not. It keeps falling through, but she's talking to us, and maybe she's gonna come around. But this is a really good episode. She covered really well the stuff that happened for the Satanic Panic, and the Satanic Panic really affected my parents. It's kind of hard to describe because somebody's asking me about it. Like, did you ever actually see that Satanic Panic stuff? And there's two parts to it. Like, one part of the Satanic Panic was these claims, and she covers them really well here, of like these different, it's almost kind of like the same thing as that Satan guy, the inner Satan school here in Mormons, that Hamblin dude, that Flip knew. It was the same thing that all these people claimed, that all these different kids schools, like kid daycare centers and stuff, had gotten into satanic rituals and doing stuff with kids and that sort of thing. And it all turned out to be kind of BS because they went and did the recovered memories with different people, and then some of the coaxing and teaching little kids to say, like, this is where they touched you on the doll and all that sorts of stuff.
Oh man.
And that end of it ended up to be mostly bullcrap. But the second side of it was completely the side that affected my parents, which is there was these papers, and there was like some sort of community meeting that they sent out saying that all these different rock bands were satanic. Like they said AC/DC was satanic. They said Rolling Stones, AC/DC stood for Antichrist, Devil's Children. And then
Coincidence? I think not.
And she went and took all my CDs. I'd worked an entire summer painting just to buy a bunch of CDs, and she went and stole all my CDs because of the stupid satanic panic. They said Zeppelin was satanic. They left me with Def Leppard. That's the only one that stayed. Because she read I could just picture it all the time. My mom sitting there reading these the lyrics, because they had all the lyrics in the CDs back then.
What?
Yeah, it was totally Kyle's mom. It was 100%. What are you listening to, Kyle? Let me read these. What is this? Guns N' Roses. The only lyrics that passed were Def Leppard. No, wait, I correct myself. Bon Jovi as well survived the cut. Bon Jovi and Def Leppard survived the cut. So the only two CDs we had anymore were Def Leppard and Bon Jovi.
Yeah. Oh God, this feels like people that read too much of the subtext. You know, I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody had a great rant on subtext and how people are constantly trying to read into it. And it's like the people that do the Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord type theory or whatever. And I'm like, and that was maybe chuckle the first time I heard it, because when I heard it, I was like, well, obviously nobody really thinks that, you know, nobody actually thinks that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. But then there's these people connecting these dots like Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny, and like, no, here's how he's actually a Sith Lord. This is actually what George Lucas meant. I'm like, okay, shut the fuck up. No, he didn't. And you know that he didn't mean that. So shut up. And I feel like that's what I ran into with that's what you run into with the Satanic Panic thing is, the subtext behind their lyrics, or if you play their music backwards, or the acronym, it's all satanic. They don't look at the actual substance of what's being said, because that's what my mom did growing up with. Like, I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 movies or things that swore, right? I couldn't watch like The Simpsons, right? Because they said damn and ass. But like so many of the Simpsons episodes were about learning and coming together as a family, and you know, making differences work out together, or whatever it is, or love. There's Homer and Marge had a great relationship while the show was good, you know, and then but so my mom would come in and she'd chew out my dad for watching that. Meanwhile, he would point out every time, like, look, okay, you watch 19 mentally ill women hurt on camera while they compete for some womanizing jackass. But that's okay, because they bleep out all the swears in there.
It's Longhouse, man.
Yeah, and it's looking at, not actually looking at the substance of what's happening, just looking into subtext and looking into the dumb words that you're not supposed to say.
Yeah. But any sort of show that kind of shows relational aggression. Actually, Paul Vanderklay did a couple good videos on that. I wouldn't be able to pull it up right now, but he had some good videos talking about the Selling Sunset and the ladies and the women in that, and talking about Louis Perry and the kidology lady, and them talking about there's all these debates about women and the sexual revolution and all this sorts of stuff. But still, even if they got to like this perfect world, they'd still want to watch Selling Sunset and see this relational aggression TV show going on. One of my favorite little things from The Onion that they ever put up was they had just like a little clip of woman takes a break from feminism to watch Desperate Housewives, or I think it was The Bachelor for a minute. Woman takes half-hour break from feminism to watch The Bachelor. Yeah, and I was like, oh, The Onion, they can sometimes do funny stuff. Did you know that women who work in Utah Silicon Slopes
God.
share its dark side. I was traumatized. Look how many
Wait
words.
a minute. What the
I
fuck
read
are
all
they,
of them too. Guess what happened?
what are they talking about? Fucking affordable housing? When was this written?
Yeah, they well, compared to California, because they're
Yeah,
all coming from
okay.
there. But yeah, the whole thing's about silicon slopes and women who come and work in Techie here, man. And oh my gosh, and it basically says, yeah, sometimes some guys assumed I wasn't good. That's about it.
Well, and it can never be, the answer could never be that, well, maybe you're not that good. You know,
It can never be that.
you work with people that aren't that good, and some of them statistically are going to be women.
Yeah,
A lot
and
of them are going to be men. There's a lot of
and-
men that are terrible that I work with, and there's a lot of women that are terrible that I work with. More men because there's more men that work there.
it's one of the things I've always wanted to like yell at feminist face is that, do you think I haven't been mansplained in my life? Like, I grew up a Mormon Boy Scout. Like, there is no Mormon Boy Scout who hasn't been mansplained more less than, like, when you were a Mormon Boy Scout, we sat there as guys sat there with cars open, explaining to us nothing, just mansplaining us stuff inside of a car, or showing us the correct way to put up a tent when we knew how to put up the stupid tent. Like, we've been mansplained. Mansplaining isn't something that they do to you because you're a woman who is a lesser being. Mansplain is who they are, and actually sometimes they have good information for you too, and other times, yeah, they're wasting your time re-explaining to you something that you already know. But that's
No,
it's
it's
just
funny because it this is what mediocrity does. It like it just breeds bureaucracy because explaining something stupid like that, and it's always in like a stupid way that, like, no, you have to explain it in these exact words so I can check off the merit badge for you, because we did it in work too. We had this training the other day, and we had to do our update our training, and we have these they're called RAMs, they're radiation area monitors, and the question was on our training, what would cause a RAM to alarm? And I said, radiation. And she's like, well, but we need the exact words. Okay. And we go over the words, and it's like, oh, well, maybe there's not enough shielding. I was like, yep, that's radiation. Oh, well, maybe like somebody put a waste barrel too close to it. Yeah, radiation. Like, this is all, I didn't say the exact words you wanted, but I said the right thing. And they're like, and that's just what I think of when I think of mansplaining, the way, because people do it. People explain things to you that, like, obviously you know what they're talking about, and we all hate those fucking idiots. But it's not because you're a woman, because they do it to me too.
yeah, that's exactly the point. And it's a little bit the point too of like, guess who has assumed many times that I can't do something, or I'm not good at something, or I don't know what I'm doing? Men. Like, that is part of life. That's part, well, women will do it to us all over the place too. Hate to break that to you as well. But part of life is people assume that you can't do something until you prove yourself. I hate to explain that to you. Oops, I'm explaining. Ew. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many.
sometimes it's like they'll explain something to you that, okay, man, look, I know you don't know where I am mentally, like where my brain capacity is, but like I'd have to be fucking stupid. I'd have to be really retarded not to know this thing that
Oh
you're
yeah.
explaining to me. And that can be annoying. But yeah, for the most part, it's like if they don't know that you know a thing and they're explaining it to you, then he doesn't even know I'm an archaeologist and he's trying to explain archaeology to me. And it's because he's sexist and thinks that a woman can't be an archaeologist. No, he knows an interesting thing and he's telling it to you because most people probably don't know that interesting thing. He just stumbled upon you who knows that interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, my I mean, if ever you grew up, especially some of the guys I grew up, there was such like a Hank and friends from whatchamacallit, from King of the Hill. And I was actually listening to Mike Judge this week talk about where he got the idea from that guy. And he was talking about a dude at his house that a fence broke at his house, and he went outside to fix it because like some tornado blew it over. And those same four guys were standing out in the driveway that they have in Texas. And he started fixing it. And the guy comes up and goes, "Oh, those nails aren't right nails." And then another guy comes up and is like, "Oh, those aren't right. that's not the right cement. And that's not the right pole. And he's just joking that like after a minute, he just went inside and looked out, and these 4 guys were just basically fixing his whole fence for him. And you know that those are the types of guys there. But I feel like growing up in Utah and scouting worlds, like I met those guys a million different times myself, and I got splained a million different times. This is the right way you broom. I'm like, I know how to broom. No, you could do it a little bit better if you get the swishes just like this. I'm like, okay, you're teaching me like the ninja Mr. Miyagi version of how to broom something. Like, thank you very much. I'm not making that up. Like, I remember
How to broom something?
Yeah, a guy's like, that's not the right. Here's, I'm gonna teach you the best way that you can broom stuff up.
Are you talking about sweeping?
Sweeping? Yeah,
I've never heard somebody say broom like a verb.
you've never heard that?
No.
Oh,
Let
maybe it's
me
Utah.
let me explain to you why it's wrong.
Yeah, there it is. So not only did I do it wrong and I needed it corrected, I needed the wording of it wrong corrected too. How dare someone explain to me that I already know? Don't they know that I'm amazing and already know everything? And of course, it's the damned if you do, damned if you don't world. Because if they don't know how to do a thing and you assume that they did know how to do the thing, you will get the same article written about you.
That's actually a thing that everybody hates at work is when you get somebody that's relatively new and you take them into an area and you're trying to teach them the way that we do things. And they, oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. There's a woman at work who that's her reputation is she's, I know. Like she can be doing something wrong and be like, oh, we actually do it this way. I know. And like, well, no, you didn't. And that's fine. I don't think you're stupid for not knowing a thing that you weren't previously exposed to, but just get over. Everybody hates that person. And now we gotta coddle that person because they're like, oh, the reason you hate me is because you're sexist. No, it's because you're a cock.
Yeah. Well, people who will show you how to do stuff in this world are some preppers. Flip said he is going to try to get on here in maybe 20 minutes. We'll see if he gets here. Let me see if I have some Delin and the Preppers pulled up. Delin and the Preppers. I listened to all this, and I forgot I listened to all this because it's forgettable to listen to all this. But it all kind of goes in line with the Visions of Glory stuff because we talked about it last time that all these different prepper people say they have different sorts of visions of the future. And one of the things that irritates me and frustrates me with this is, I guess it kind of goes a little bit with the explaining world and stuff. But Delin is talking like we need to put a kibosh. The Mormon Church needs to put a complete kibosh entirely on prepperism. And this is one of those pragmatic reasons why religious people always survive and whatever smart city people always die or something like that. Because it doesn't matter if they have wild vision stories with it. If these guys are prepped for what's coming, that's going to serve them and it's going to serve them well. That's one of the things that's just been melting my mind lately. Like I went into a bit of a deep dive of Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and then some more deep dives of some stuff about like how open our borders have been and the different types of possible sleeper cells that are getting in, that sort of stuff. And now there's all, Elon Musk, I listened to him go off for an hour this week that he thinks we're sleepwalking into World War III. And there's all, where do you think like our drugs, our grains come from the Ukraine, our drugs come from China, our computing power comes from Taiwan. All of a sudden that stuff all just gets cut off. And then all of a sudden 1, 2, 3 war. And we've got these all sorts of different factions that have surrounded Israel over there. Basically, they're different groups, but if they're really surrounded that, Iran and nuclear powers and that sort of stuff. All I'm saying is right in the middle of crazy world stuff, I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm going, I don't have visions of glory. I didn't read something like have some dream that Joseph Smith in the last days and some sort of thing, but I think I got to start prepping. Like, holy shit.
I know. Well, it's like we go off on the wrong things because when somebody says, oh, like, I don't know, a giant unicorn bunny appeared to me, you say, well, that sounds stupid. I'm not listening to you. And they're like, yeah. And he told me that I'm his chosen one. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. And you just assume everything he's going to say is stupid. And he's like, and he told me to treat my children with kindness and love my wife and stockpile a bunch of food in case something bad happens. Well, that's stupid because you heard it from a vision bunny. No, maybe the reason he did it's stupid, but the thing he did isn't stupid. Like, don't call people stupid for preparing for catastrophe because it's here.
Yeah, you don't need wackadoo visions and all that stuff to look and say, hey, I think those Mormons are gonna be doing pretty well here pretty quick if stuff really does fly off the handle. We can always hope it doesn't fly off the handle, but it's very, very real that it could fly off the handle, and they don't sound so nuts anymore. Maybe they got there from like, we always talk about the pragmatics of like you have some wild harebrained thing that comes from some sort of magical thing, but then you do the pragmatic thing that's real. And it's like, if these guys are prepping up and DeLynne's telling you to just clutch to your therapist, drop all your money to your therapist, and get rid of your guns and stop all your prepper stuff, and then this other stuff flies off, well, I think those crazy guys are going to have out-survived you again. And that's how the dialectic of the time has always gone over. The crazy religious guys always outlive you.
I think go ahead.
From what I understand, that was not a lie. She was very much endorsed by many people.
A lot of money sent her way, a lot of clients. There's like a template that's almost like, if you go back to Joseph too, it's like this complex of worshiping a man and how he, like, there's been some comparisons of Tim Ballard to Joseph and like what he did to women and how he coerced them and the things he did to groom them. And then you do the same thing with the dominoes here with.
I've been listening to all the deep dives that RFM's gone into, like the affidavits of those people. And if that stuff's real, Tim Ballard, I stand by two things. Tim Ballard's a nut. And the second thing, those women are dumb dupes. Like, they are dupes. If you're sitting there going along with that stuff and thinking that anything real is going on, you are a dupe. And I don't feel sorry for you.
What is it like if you want to save this kid, you gotta grab my wiener or something like
Yeah,
that? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if you want to save kids, we're going to have to test if you're okay with grabbing wieners, but we're going to have to practice right now. We're going to have to practice multiple weekends. We're going to have to practice this moment. And, hey, Johnny, my buddy, could you go out of the room so we can start practicing real quick? It's like, what kind of idiots? Like, really?
We're going to have to fuck in this room loud enough that they can hear us so that they know what we're married.
Are you ready for this? Are you ready to be able to test your limits, man? And I don't like to use cops, man. I don't like to use cops. Cops, they can smell cops a mile away. Actors, and you have real attraction, can smell your pheromones. You smell my pheromones? And how do you react when my boner comes up? Do you react the same? Like, are you able to keep it straight? Like, do you keep a poker face when a boner's waving around in your face? Let me see if there's a poker face with a boner waving around in your face. You're like, come on, you dupes. You dupes.
I want to save the kids, so I guess I gotta keep a poker boner face.
And it's almost like the same thing as like all these other places where people are saying they're traumatized because they don't know. And then now they're crying to the Longhouse. Get rid of this Tim Ballard, man, because these things happen. And there's part of me that just goes like, wait, why did anybody not just walk right the hell out of that room 3 minutes into it and go, oh no, you're a complete sham artist. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Why did we get to the point where you guys fell down those things and now you need the Longhouse to rescue you? I've been traumatized.
Abel, and it's, there's just no culpability. They don't admit that they're wrong. There's no apologies. But there is not the excommunications on the right side that you see on the left. Mm-hmm. Why aren't we seeing some of these cult right leaders being told they're excommunicated for what they're doing? Happy to go after the left, happy to go after the progressives, but not the right.
Yeah, as far as I know, Sam Young or Natasha Helfer or me or Jeremy Runnels, none of us have done things that have led to murders yet that I know of.
Great point.
Like Sam Young was just trying to protect children from sexual abuse. Natasha was trying to promote healthy sexuality. I was trying to promote same-sex, marriage and honesty in church history. And
okay, is that what you're doing?
And they excommunicated me for that.
No, they just excommunicated me. I was just asking questions. I don't know why they excommunicate. You're like the ex-Mormon prophet, man. People probably credit more loss of faith to you than even Jeremy Runnels at this point for some reason.
And they're sitting there acting like duped or confused by
No, I saw that actually, like I found that that group today, Latter-day Kink.
Oh yeah,
It's just,
you have that one pull out. Did you get accepted into it?
I did, yeah, I did.
You'll probably get kicked out if I show any of it.
If
Too much.
well, you wouldn't be able to show it because you're not in it, but
Oh
um,
yeah.
they one of the shoot, what was I even saying? Oh, they were talking about non-monogamy, basically polyamory, and this one lady starts complaining about how well, or she starts talking about how well Natasha Helfer outlined it, before she got excommunicated. She outlined how to healthily engage in consensual non-monogamy. I'm just sitting there like, how the fuck is this dumbass shocked that she was kicked out of the Mormon church for being like, well, here's how you get double penetrated while your husband jerks off in the corner.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
sure everybody's on board with it the whole time. You guys kicked me out of your group? I can't believe it.
Don't get any of your bull's slop on your temple. Recommend. Let's see. Let's see. Chassis Smack says mansplaining is a detailed description of a problem and it's a possible solution. Men are mansplaining throughout life every day. We listen and communicate in terms of things in great detail. Yep. And sometimes I very much seek out the mansplain from all sorts of people. How do I do this? Oh, that is interesting. Thank you for helping me.
I
do
actually
that.
tell people that when I'm in a new area and they start teaching me stuff and then they feel kind of guilty, they'll be like, sorry, I'm sure you probably already know this or whatever. Like, no, it's okay. I just explain everything to me like I don't know anything, because chances are you'll pick up on a lot of things. And I'm not going to be offended if you explain to me a thing I already know, because you don't know. You can't read my fucking mind.
Well, not to mention that we're in a Longhouse litigated world. And then at some point in the future, when you do Homer Simpson screw something up, that person then turns around and says, they never explained it to me. It's their fault. They didn't explain it. The splainer gets feedback from the audience to fast forward through parts. If the audience is a woman, they don't give many of these cues to the mansplainer to skip those parts anyhow. Yeah, and someone's like communicating back like that you do know it or don't. This is why there are so many more crazy breaking the seal situations in our country. I don't understand why we're taking this so well. Because of this lack of cues and understanding, the splainer doesn't skip forward while the audience just gets offended. Yeah. There are lots of very trusting people. That's gotta be.
There probably is a lot of like body language that you use to indicate that. Oh yeah, I get what you're saying, and so they can move on to the next part of it that you probably don't know.
Yeah, I think there's just a little more here, but then I'll jump forward a bit.
Kelly, and Ordained Women was just all about helping women not suffer at the hands of the patrarchy.
Mm-hmm.
All excommunicated. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of other
Jeremy
people.
Reynolds with the
CES letter, just being honest about church history.
Right? They're talking about all this stuff that's like the church should be thanking them for it and get like, well, this was just like we got communicated for this, and all we were trying to do was help. In fact, that's what he says a little later. So I'm going to jump to.
Jeremy Reynolds just got kicked out for questioning the church. I'm like, well, yeah, he told them they were wrong, and he wrote a letter about it and published it and made updates to it, and like I'm on his side, by the way. Like I think most of the stuff he wrote was right, but
yeah, but don't act like they're like they were going to be there. Oh, you've saved us, General. Thank you for showing this all to us. The church is going to incorporate it immediately and get right to
your club is. He comes up to me and he's like, your club is wrong about everything, and there is no God, and maybe we're in a simulation. And then they're like, thank you so much. Actually, we should promote you to head prophet.
Thank you.
And Chatter Lori, and he doesn't condemn prepperism. So, I mean, they just...
Because it's not the prepperism that caused them to murder their children, you fucking retard. I don't understand. What's the...
Like, I can't separate it. It's just the whole thing is demonized now because these guys are nuanced, super nuanced, deep thinkers.
I just take an ideology that I don't like, and I find someone who did something insane, not related to that ideology, and I blame it on the ideology. I just say, like, oh, can you believe that they don't condemn Catholicism when that Catholic guy punched me in the face for no reason?
Yeah. It's all the Catholicism got to go. We got to get the Longhouse to go put some restraints down on them to we need the Longhouse to come in and put down some orders and put down some laws and put in some HR people, and
They don't want to be associated with it. They try to keep it distanced, which
Yeah.
I'm sure is a
Well,
PR strategy.
Yeah, and because it's never condemned, it furthers the preppers' belief that they are doing what's right
Yeah.
and that they are the select few.
Living a higher law than the rest of us.
Let me ask you really quickly. You get two sides about polygamy. You get like Denver Snuffer and some of the others, maybe the Joe Smith Foundation, Hannah Stoddard types. By the way, we haven't mentioned the Joe Smith Foundation, Hannah Stoddard people, but you get a group of people who are saying Joseph Smith never practiced polygamy at all. There was no peep stone in the hat. They're kind of denying the factual history.
Mhm.
But I think you also get prepper strains of people that believe in polygamy and even practice it. Is there anything y'all want to say about that?
I believe there are people on the forum that do practice polygamy. It is not solely Mormons. I believe there are some fundamentalists that get on there because prepping applies to everyone. My father definitely believes in polygamy and had some questionable that as his way to get another wife, to upgrade. My dad always made jokes about how he might upgrade to a newer model at some point. And there was even this woman, she was very sweet, but she would come visit us and she was single and she would come and stay for a few weeks from far away.
In your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
What the hell's
there
wrong
were
with
a lot
that?
of jokes made about how once polygamy came back that he would be happy to add her to the family. And it never sat right with us. It always made us uncomfortable. I mean, she was a very kind person, but the whole idea of it didn't sit right with us.
Luckily, we had some separation being at BYU Idaho from that, but we did go visit and see that and go, that's really, really odd.
Yeah.
The couple's ruse was part of that for Tim Ballard, but
Tim.
we don't know much more than that, but there definitely was someone around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is just getting out of hand. So Mormon Church, we're your friends here. We just want you to be healthier and do less harm.
Shut
This book,
fuck up.
you allowing Tom.
after they just threw their dad under the bus for just kind of some jokes that he made or something like that. We're your friend here.
Harrison to remain a member in good standing and this book to be sold without you both shutting that down and condemning it.
John DeLynne's here to be the Longhouse for you. Make sure that people can't read or think things or have their own.
I worry that number one, you have blood on your hands. You will have more blood on your hands. And I think it'll come back to bite you. I think it will come back to bite you. So fix this, fix the prepper stuff, fix the Visions of Glory stuff, fix the Tom Harrison stuff. I say as your friend, as someone who wants Mormons to be healthy.
You're the concept of concern trolling.
I, John DeLynne, only want what is best for you. This reminds me of the what is it? The Tangled. There's that whole song where she's like, "Mother knows best."
Listen to your mumsy.
Yeah,
we got Kevin here. Kevin, you've been reading that book, right?
I'm a Visions of Glory reader.
How many
I'm
people-
doing my own visions right now.
How many people have you murdered?
Do you do some
I got
prepping
6
too?
people that I'm waiting.
Wait, you have 6 kids.
That's
terrible.
He did the math.
What
Oh, jeez. That's terrible, guys. I
we knew you were reading
that way.
We knew you were reading the Daybell stuff too.
Are they zombies?
Oh, jeez.
Let's see what names you got. You got Visions of Glory reader, and then we got Mani Padme Hum. What is that? Oh, I think I know what that is.
Tibetan mantra. I just came from Tibetan funeral.
Oh.
Or Buddhist funeral. Tibetan Buddhist funeral. But not for a Tibetan, but for a Tibetan Buddhist, but not a Tibetan one.
Have you seen the Curb Your Enthusiasm where he gives Richard Lewis his mantra, and he's gonna go use it for meditating, and then halfway through meditating he calls him and says, I think I want my mantra back. Like, what, you want it back? Yeah, I want it back.
No, that's what it was. No, it's actually. What are you guys in the middle of?
We're in the middle of John
DeLynne concern trolling for the Mormon Church, and how I say this is your friend, Mormon Church.
Well, I'll continue that. I won't derail it. I can talk about Buddhist stuff later.
No, I actually started reading this book, by the way, just because it's now neo taboo.
What is that?
That
The Visions of Glory book.
Just
Here,
for
I'll
fun.
back it up here so
Is
you can hear
that-
just the last little bit.
Visions of Glory, isn't that the Daybell guy thing?
Yeah. That's what we're talking about, because like he's linking it to all preppers and saying that prepperism needs to die entirely because it's all dangerous and the church needs to shut it down.
You know, it's funny. I was just at a thing, and I was talking to a friend of mine who is a transplant here from Massachusetts, and so Mormonism is just totally bizarre to her. And she was visiting a friend's, like an in-law's parents or something, and she described how the basement is just totally prepper ready. And she looked into like a whole closet that was full of like Betty Crocker cake mixes and stuff. And she said that she went, oh, they still have parties in the apocalypse? And she said the joke did not go over.
Yeah, so that's what these guys come from, the prepper world. There's this whole prepper website called Avow, and I think it's called like a vision of
Avow's pretty fucked.
Yeah,
There.
and her dad runs it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a friend who grew up in Avow, and like it was some nutty shit. She's got
So
some crazy.
Is it a Mormon subcult?
Yeah, it's Mormon, but it's like they think that they've got the higher Mormonism basically, and they've
got the vision world.
She had like a growth on her face, like I think it was melanoma, and in the visions they told her not to use traditional medicine, and instead gave her mom an acid to burn the growth off of her face with, and it fucked her up so badly that finally her mom took her to the hospital, and she almost died from this acid.
Here's a quarter. Go downtown and have a rat knock that thing off your face. You guys know that movie?
I don't know, but it sounds like Nicholson.
No. Uncle Buck, John Candy.
Oh.
It's a classic.
Is she Latina? She looks like she could be.
So when we're talking like prepper here, this means like nutty prepper, like spiritually like Lori Daybell type prepper, right? Not like your typical like I'm preparing for shit to go down, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. Like there's prudence, and because that's the thing about a lot of the church food storage thing is that like frankly it would behoove anybody to have some storage. I think like John Larson back in the day pointed out a lot of where like it really breaks down the way a lot of it's done. You know, especially this thing about like, oh, I'm going to have a big drum of barley, because the thing is like you have to cycle that stuff. You know, like the product life cycle management of that level is like beyond most people, not just financially, but it's hard to do. Like that's what executive chefs know how to do. That's part of what makes them executive chefs.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's another voice of warning, and they get pretty intense with it. The stuff they describe. That lady's the daughter of the guy who runs the website, but she talks about, like, of course, there's all sorts of people in it who are a little bit like OCD or kind of high level autistics or whatever sorts of stuff. But of course, what I was kind of joking about before is that these guys are still going to outlive Delenn and stuff when World War III pops off. That's my point. Is like this is how the crazy religious people still always continue, and whatever. What is that movie again? The Mike Judge movie. We were just talking about Mike Judge again. The idiocracy. The smart people are going to kill themselves off by not having prepped anything, and all these over prepped people are going to be perfectly fine when stuff starts popping off.
Well, what does it say about the critics? Because like when they're like, because their big criticism of the church is like, look at those dopes. They stockpile food and money.
Yeah. But I don't get, why can't there be like preppers who just say, hey, let's prep because we read the news. You know what I mean? Like not because they got like some vision.
I'm thinking maybe that's just not how humans work, because me and all of my friends, everybody I know, when we talk about preppers, we're always like, yeah, they got the right idea gathering all this shit. We need to do that. Anyway, Whatever.
I do that a million times. I've been talking to Kevin this week for the 9,000th time that I got to figure out how to do guns because I don't know anything about guns, and I shouldn't even be saying
I
this.
know.
And
I've got an AR
and
and I don't know shit about it. That's it. That's all.
You have an assault rifle?
An assault rifle.
Yeah.
15
That's what AR
rounds,
stands for.
15
I was saying
rounds
to
per
Kevin,
second.
An
if I went down
AR-14?
to that place, I'd look like such like a ringer of a Fed because I'd walk in, I looking like, however I look, and I walk up and like, one assault rifle, please.
My wife knows even less about gun
Get out of
science. 'cause
You,
when-
you
get out of
totally
here,
should.
Fed.
You totally should, and they'll just laugh.
They'll
See,
point at me, Fed.
when my wife, she knows less about guns than I do, because when her friend asked her, what kind of gun did Jared buy? She said an AK-47.
Yeah, I bought one. Hey Jared, is your AR fully semi-automatic?
It's semi-fully automatic.
Oh, okay.
How many magazines does it hold?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is just getting out of hand. So Mormon Church, we're your friends here. We just want you to be healthier and do less harm. This book, you allowing Tom Harrison to remain a member in good standing, and this book to be sold without you both shutting that down and condemning it. I worry that, number one, you have blood on your hands. You will have more blood on your hands, and I think it'll come back to bite you. I think it will come back to bite you. So fix this, fix the prepper stuff, fix the Visions of Glory stuff, fix the Tom Harrison stuff. I say as your friend, as someone who wants Mormons to be healthy and wants to see the church do less harm and do more good. That's my public service announcement. I give it to you for free.
Please fix the McClellan stuff.
John DeLynn, if I give you $10 million to fix it, what the fuck would you do? What are you talking about? Fix it.
He probably used empathy.
How about fix sex trafficking?
Yeah.
Fix it, John DeLynn.
Fix it. Like that book really caused. Like that book, Kevin. Did you read?
Look
that
at all the
book
blood
and
on
say,
my hands.
Look at I got to kill my kids who are zombie kids, and I don't know what else. I mean, what did Daybell and Lori do? Like, because we have different lives in our past life and future life, and I better murder my kids and go to Hawaii. Did you have any sort of inkling towards that?
That's.
I mean, what's the book even?
Also, how much of that even fits into Mormon doctrine? Because when
all
you blame,
of it when you read this book,
yeah, well, when you blame Mormonism for Chad and Lori Daybell, like, okay, just read anything about Lori Daybell and tell me that she wasn't just a psychotic, broken person from the beginning. She would have found an excuse to do crazy shit no matter what ideology she was born into.
That's what happens with crazy people.
No, I know, but she uses anything she wants to do, anything. Like she, the past lives thing. They talked about how they were married in past lives. Where do you find that in Mormon doctrine? How do you blame
Kwaku?
Mormonism for her? Yeah, okay. Well,
Kwaku argued it here with us for.
Yeah.
Do you have food storage, Kevin?
I have food storage.
Do you?
I'm a crazy prepper.
You crazy prepper? Do you ever make the crazy whatever giant bag of flour meals? I don't know how they work.
Giant bag of flour meals.
Just eat it with a spoon.
Hey kids, come on, we're gonna have some flour tonight. No, I'm not real good about cycling it like you were talking about. It's like, oh geez, this is like 6 years out of date.
Yeah, no, that's just
when we got married, my mother-in-law she has a huge food storage, and I think she's better about it now, but she gave us some food from the food storage, and I, like, a couple years later, we hadn't used like this can of tuna that I found in the back, and I was like, oh, this is probably close to expiring by now. It is canned, but I look at it and it expired in 85.
Amazing.
Holy shit, I should sell this.
Belongs in a museum.
Anyway, since these guys left that scary prepper world and got to a much safer, more therapeutic world, how do you think stuff's shaking out for them?
I bet they've unpacked their trauma.
Did they unpack their trauma?
At least they're not causing harm anymore.
When did they announce that they've decided to be polyamorous Mormon kink?
Oh, how did you land on that?
Oh, yeah.
We were still together. We still have these kids. We have these shared things, but like we'll we have to show up. And for
Yeah.
you, I think it allowed you to be safer too, right? And be more authentic.
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to touch
Safer
on
and
Authentic.
authentic,
Yeah,
all in
so
one
with
go.
leaving the church,
Go
that
back
gave
to
me the
church.
space to come out to you about
Wanting to bone
my
other guys.
own sexuality, being somewhere on the LGBTQIA spectrum.
Which one of
Somewhere.
them? Okay, which is it? I? Is it A? Is it which one is it? Just because just be precise
He's a
in your
plus.
speech for the love of God.
It is a rainbow, so tell us what color. Like,
My sexuality
was-
was somewhere on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. That can't be a spectrum. That's everywhere. T
Yeah.
isn't anywhere in the sexuality,
well,
right?
there's also the problem that Q
Or Q.
rejects the legitimacy of LG and B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not something that I ever previously.
Wait, is that Jared? Is that face like the same face that you put up of that cartoon of that guy right there? Remember he had that?
Oh, I need to take a screenshot of that.
That's the one.
Hang on.
When
Go
the
move.
kid
Yeah, the trans kid coming out and somebody.
yeah, it shows his face smiling and dead eyes. Like,
There we go.
You got it?
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Was even close to being able to talk about. I grew up with very homophobic father who made terrible comments, and I would have never ever said anything in my home because it wasn't safe to. So having that distance from him, leaving the church, that allowed me to finally start exploring that, reading about it, trying to understand,
Your
what is this?
Your
And-
attraction and sexuality template.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that came as a big shock to you. That was hard.
Yeah.
I was just excited to get two girls in the second one.
So this is funny to me because whenever people accuse their parents of being homophobic, I'm always skeptical because I don't think people accuse Jordan Peterson of being too cliche by saying things like the behavior you act out says a lot more about your beliefs than the words that you say. They're like, that's cliche. Okay, but it's a cliche for a reason. You clearly don't understand it. Like, you clearly don't acknowledge that. Because when I think of people would probably have called my dad homophobic, right?
Yeah.
These type of people. They'd be like, oh, yeah, he's very homophobic. Because he said all the classic things like, oh, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve or whatever. And he'd be like, oh, what's this country coming to, allowing gay marriage or whatever. And they'll call him homophobic. But every single time I've ever seen him interact with a gay person in life, he's actually wonderful to them. You're like, yeah, no, when we sold our house in Rexburg, he sold it to a lesbian couple, and his neighbor asked him not to do that. Like, could you not sell it to them? And he's like, wait, like, that's homophobic, right? That's if we're gonna use that word. And my dad's like, I can't not do that. That's they're just people around. I'm like,
spends as good as everybody else's, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's. I thought the same thing.
So you wanted me to break the 1962 human what is it? Chris?
Redlining, the Human Rights Act.
Yeah, you want me to do that. So
Civil Rights Act.
Before the Civil Rights Act is 64, whatever. You want me to base my real estate contract on somebody's sexual preference?
Yeah.
So the other thing is like
that's the
I would
thing.
also-
They're going back and saying, you know.
So, but she could have had a legitimately homophobic father. I don't know. I never know. This is the problem. I never know when people are being honest because they don't actually think about the words that they say. Because if I wouldn't tell somebody that my dad was homophobic because I don't think he is. He treats people well.
Your dad could have told your neighbors, like, you don't have to worry. A lot of lesbians aren't lesbian that long.
Yeah.
It might be 6 months. There'll be a guy in there.
6 months taps.
I mean, that was, it took a lot of therapy for me to understand that.
Oh, God.
Therapy, I'm
wait a
starting to
minute.
realize, is
lot of re-education.
re-education.
A
lot of
no, this guy just
a
got
lot of
brainwashed.
psychological conditioning.
So wait, he was bothered that she was polyamorous and therapy helped him to realize that it's okay that she bones other dudes? Is that what happened?
I don't know if it's polyamorous
How-
or if it was
how-
lesbian-ish that she was jumping, but it was definitely sexuality that didn't involve him.
Tell me that it's after they talk about branching into polyamory that they mention they have kids.
Oh yeah, they have kids.
I just think it was hard for me just to understand it. But like you shared this precious truth with me, and you came out to me, you trusted me, and we wouldn't have had that trust had we stayed in the church. There was no authenticity. It was check the boxes, follow the script, and order to the end. And I also revealed to you,
You're really swimming in authenticity, buddy.
Man, oh man, oh man. Let me see if I can find that. He had something to do around here.
we had grown up on a very conservative world where mental health is not discussed. We became more and more liberal with our views of
What
you need
planet were
services,
you
need help.
on?
And I think
They were in Prepper Planet. They were on a different planet.
My mom never asked me how I was growing up.
I never
She
went to a
forbade.
public
She
school.
forbade you.
Like, okay, these people look younger than me.
Yeah.
If you went to school in America, you were exposed to people talking about how it's okay for you to talk about your mental health and giving you multiple avenues to do that. Doink.
an understanding of mental health.
I gotta
helped us
clip that one.
have empathy and to have us
Oh, there's the word. I like that.
Empathy.
and I think
Empathy,
an understanding of mental health helped us have empathy and to have
By
us
saying it, it's like, I know that you're thinking and my mom and dad, I know you make me perfect and you could hear me.
Wait, you didn't breathe into the microphone.
I like to have empathy,
There we
and now that I like to take
Sure to pop your
as part
piece.
of the LGBT spectrum.
a type of love towards humanity.
And I realize I need more therapy. And I do not to therapy, and I paid for 3 therapists per hour, per day, per year.
It changed the way we see others. I really think that was a big part of understanding mental health, understanding therapy. It helped us rebuild from the ground up, having those tough experiences.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Margie really missed her calling as an NPR reporter.
That fucking mushroom talk bullshit. Oh, that totally makes sense.
Your feelings are completely valid. Yes, this is you're being very authentic right now.
It's so great.
All things considered.
Would you like to try some of my sweaty balls?
The roles. I don't have to hold the anxiety of the father, husband. I also don't have to be so
I'm sure
masculine.
your kids are
allowed to be
relieved.
feminine.
What are you talking about? I don't have to hold the role as father? Fuck
roles
you!
that
Don't you know the whole re-education?
Thank God I don't have to be a dad anymore. No, you are a dad.
Kids, your mom and our therapist agree.
You know how I said, like,
I'm going to be backing off on the father role.
Yeah. To include my child support.
You know how I said, like, I was kind of going off on a jag for a bit of saying, like, I don't believe adults can be groomed, but then I forgot therapists. You know? So, I guess I'm wrong. But yeah, listen to that Tim Ballard stuff. We were talking about the Tim Ballard stuff, and that stuff sounds pretty groomy, although I still stand by that those women were dupes. But these guys are also dupes going into these therapists. Like,
I don't like, if you're 8 and you fall for I'm looking for my puppy, like, you had it coming. And if you're 34 and you fall for we have to fool the Mexican gangsters, so I'm going to need you to have sex with me.
At some point, you are just coming out this thing because you got embarrassed. The guy didn't ultimately like you, and you're trying to save something with your husband or something or other, and you're not admitting your part. That, like, you're like, ooh, your dumb little game. I'll go along with it. Tee hee hee. Yeah, let's see if I can keep a poker face for your boner. Okay.
Hold the anxiety of the father, husband.
Yeah,
I also don't have to.
Why does Skid You Know sketch?
Which one?
That's not. Is that funny? But it's like the whole setup is that like it's super secret CIA MI5 type thing sending you on the mission, and he's describing all of the security measures. And at one point, you have to blow a dog. Just the whole setup. You can just look that up. Of Whitest Kid You Know, blow job. I'm sure something will come up.
What does that even mean? I don't have to hold the anxiety of the father husband. I don't have to be so masculine. I'm allowed to be effeminate. Hang on a sec. Like this.
Let's listen to.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Anxiety comes with being a father or a mother. Like you actually have to experience anxiety in order to do it. And if you don't, you're probably a sociopath. If you don't experience anxiety when your kid runs into the other room and you hear a crash and you think he probably snapped his leg in half, well, then you're a sociopath. Like you have to experience anxiety.
You see, I talked to my therapist and we agreed that I'm feeling a lot of anxiety over the general welfare of my children. And so I'm just not going to do that. That's bad for me.
My therapist told me anything that makes me feel anxious, I should avoid unconditionally.
Like, I used to wonder, like, am I feeding them too much? Am I feeding them too little? Should they be playing in traffic? Who's that man that's always hanging around? But I'm just not going to worry about it because it causes me anxiety. And when I'm anxious, I'm not authentic.
I'm pretty sure
I'm
you
not
two
authentic,
transsexuals can raise
Can't have empathy for others.
And you have to understand, I need to have authenticity so that my wife can screw other men.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I
I need to have empathy for the guy boning my wife.
Hey Kevin, do you have a PS5?
I don't.
Well, you want to know why you don't have a PS5? Because your wife doesn't have a boyfriend. My wife's boyfriend bought me a PS5. Okay? So who's stupid now?
Honey,
Christmas presents are so much better
PS5
when your wife has a boyfriend.
I was going to show this real quick. Dr. Randomer Cam was talking about Millie Bobby Brown credits her feminist awakening to a psychic. A psychic told her that she was a feminist, so that she decided she had to go with it. But he went on a little rant about therapists right here real quick.
Asking that we take it easy on Millie Bobby Brown because she's probably been groomed from the point she started doing this work. So
yeah, I mean, and this is it's more of a case study than a personal study. The line between therapist and psychic is getting more and more blurred by the day. The very idea of a psychic telling you you're a feminist, it still seems kind of weird. That's not the kind of thing a psychic is supposed to say to you. I'm getting something. You hate men. But the idea of being declared a feminist by your psychotherapist, which is ostensibly a kind of scientist, by the way, a kind of expert, this is apparently quite normal. Most therapists will not even agree to analyze you until you agree to identify as a feminist. And fundamentally, there's not all that much difference between a psychic and a therapist, or indeed a feminist. They're just slightly different factions of frauds who claim to know your mind better than you do.
I like that little rant. Let's see.
Well, that's good. No, I really like. I've talked to another friend though. Like, and more and more I think about it, the more I realize that the next time I really need a therapist, like I'll just go find a priest and put money on the collection plate.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, not that I foresee that happening, but yeah, it's just like, what do therapists do? I mean, other than the bureaucratic nightmare that is life, that's what therapists are for. I mean, very quickly, this is the thing I just went through with my apartment building. It's just it's the stupidest thing because I'm going out of the country for a couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, I ran into the apartment manager and I said, hey, I'm going out of town for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to need a spare key and a fob so that my cat sitter can feed my cat. And, in order to get my cat, I had to go see a therapist and get a letter and say that it's a medically necessary cat. So it's my medicinal cat under the law. And she says, oh, okay, that's fine. We just have to get your friend's photo ID. We'll take a copy of it. It's fine. So yesterday I send them a text and I say, hey, you're in the office this afternoon. I wanted to come grab that key. And she said, oh, we are a secured building. We can't give you a key unless it's a reasonable accommodation request due to a disability. And I'm like, well, I thought we talked about this. And you said you'd give me a key. She's like, no, I thought you had somebody staying with you. No, this is different. We can't give you a key. Can I ask you again? Is this a medical, a reasonable access request or whatever? And I said, yes, sure. Yes, that's what it is. She says, oh, okay, come fill out a piece of paper. And I filled out a fucking piece of paper. And I literally put down, my cat needs food to live. It's a disability I have.
Everything's Brazil.
And now it's fine. Now the lawyers are fucking satisfied.
You gamed the system. You figured out how to.
everything has to be gamed that way. We were talking at the very beginning before you guys got here about how like current day warfare is more about like who has the better oppression optics than about who has the better aggression ability. And it's like everything's got to be gamed from the side of some sort of a disability. Well, that's one of the reasons we're calling this the Latter-day Longhouse. And we were talking about we're going to start the Latter-day Longhouse group, and we're going to have a mod who's the den mother. And the den mother is going, the way we can get around having to be shitty mods is double into being a terrible den mother mod. And anytime anybody like has some complaint, put their complaint up on the highlight reel at the front, like, look at this amazing gold star complaint by this young woman who's really worried about how well we communicate as a group here and that we're not being too toxic one with another. Let's see. What do we got here? Geez, the cuck face is for sure universal.
It's not even just the face, man. It's the eyes. You can see the soul sucked out of the eyes.
I hate to say it too. I don't mean to fat shame. We only fat shame large black women at the end of episodes. But I can tell you're eating your emotions too, fella. Let's see. Maybe she was noble and kept her word. As authentic as imitation crab. She's sitting there just thinking, dollar bills. Can we all just step back and look at the girth of this man? Dude, you are the father and the husband. I think you were answering him, saying that he doesn't have to be a man so much. Wuss of a guy. She's not banging my wife because he's banging my wife because she needs him to, and I allow it because I got nothing else going for me. Therapist, the rapist, anal rapist. Need to take more time than a step back. Authentic piece of scat, and never talk to my wife's boyfriend again. And there are wise and good therapists, but most of the oppression is captured. Yeah, I think you can find good ones here and there, but
it's just how do you differentiate?
You've got to vet them.
Did they graduate in the 80s?
Yeah.
That's as good as anything. But of course, they're all retiring now.
And I see a couple of them online, but then they end up getting like a big following online, big enough that they could stop doing their therapy because all they do is go online. And there was that Sean T. Smith who was talking out against the American Psychiatric or Psychology Association for calling toxic masculinity a mental health disorder. And he wrote an open letter to him. It was a pretty good episode of a podcast.
They won't even call gender dysphoria a mental health disorder anymore.
Yeah. Gender dysphoria is not a mental health disorder, and maleness is.
Yeah.
Roles. I don't have to hold the anxiety of the father, husband. I also don't have to be so masculine. I'm allowed to be a feminine man. I'm allowed to. Gender norms are not, a big part of it. And this identity of, because people will say like, oh, like, why do you care about emotional intelligence, or why do you care about emotional load, and why do you talk about therapy all the time? And it's like, I still lift weights and watch football. I'm still a guy.
No,
I still define myself in those masculine ways, but I'm also comfortable in the femininity.
You're a whole person.
Yes, there's so much more to us than a gender role. And so I think that's been great for our reconstruction as a couple.
Women lift weights too. Like that's one of the ones that I would like hardly put in the.
No, I know. He's like, I'm still a guy. I'm not. Nobody's saying you're not a guy if you talk about. I don't know, like this whole therapy thing. I can't do it.
Kevin, can you cook?
Yeah, I can cook.
Gay. Gay. Kevin with his 6 kids and his guns and he's gay.
Yeah. This is my coming out moment right here. Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that's kept him out of that closet is staying Mormon all this time.
Nice. I'm not constrained by masculinity. I can cook things sometimes. Nobody said you couldn't do that.
Because we've just.
In fact, if you read enough feminist
literature, we're having fajitas.
If you read enough feminist literature, there's a glass ceiling on cooking for women and not for men. So
nobody ever heard of Julia Child.
Embrace the fact that we are both masculine and feminine.
She was that lady who had all those lesbian trysts in college, and one time went to she one time went to a trans thing. Maybe, at least that's what I got from the HBO movie TV show.
Also, by the way, this is a thing that I just know because I'm a nerd and I'm into food and Wikipedia. But there are famous cookbooks written by famous women going back to like the 12th century and shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And Julia Childs even pulled from a bunch of women teachers in France or so.
Yeah. Wow.
This is a good visual that I think I noticed too. Shasti Smack says, I like the more he talks, the farther away she moves. Yeah, I can't. I would love to, like, this guy seems like a nice dude, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd love to take him under the wing and be like, dude, stop
I
talking
just
like
want-
that. Stop talking like that. You're gonna lose that girl. You're gonna lose that girl. Yes, yes, you're gonna lose that girl.
I want a 1 year follow up on where these guys are at.
We've seen the 1 year follow up on these guys 50,000 different times.
I know. Was
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
She's repulsed by him, hence the cucking. Like, okay.
Yeah, this is what I wish I was a billionaire thing, because like if I would, I would.
You'd short the marriage.
I'd say did that. No, I'd say yeah. I want to know Dylan. Like, I'll give you $10,000 to do a 1 year follow up on this.
No,
well, and then if I was a billionaire and you could bet on it in Vegas, I'd go put a bet on like,
Yeah.
okay, they've got about 3 years left.
No, 21 months. Like that's my. I think that's my mean average is 21 months after polyamory before the relationship explodes.
So there's this whole YouTube sort of feud going on before Think Before You Sleep and
Rollo Tomasi.
No, that one was funny, but no, it's Noah, whatever his face is. He was that.
Oh yeah, the
red
one
tuber.
that Red and Sitch.
Yeah, and it's funny because Think Before You Sleep is talking about things that women are attracted to, and Noah refutes him by pulling up these stats that say, oh, turns out the thing women are most attracted to is kindness. And any man that watches that is going to be like, that's bullshit. That's no, it's not. And like, where do you think these stats come from? Oh, women lying about what they like. That's
women who don't really understand what they're actually attracted to or not.
no, and that's what is happening right here. Is she's like, yes, I'm so. She's moving away from him every time he says he likes being feminine and stuff like that. And she's like, I love it. I love this. I love that you're being docile and non-assertive and saying that you don't have to be a father anymore. It's great. It's great.
When the Longhouse gets its way, you slowly start turning into like a ranch cow, and you don't look like an open field wildebeest anymore, and they lose attraction for you, and they steered you towards that, and then they'll go find the next thing and they won't even kind of know what they're doing. They don't quite follow that they're doing the what do they call that, the
hypergamy.
Yeah.
Hey, I hate to cut it. I actually gotta.
You got to bail.
Yeah, my wife's boyfriend just showed up. So.
Well, that's the first straight thing you've said all night.
Did he bring the PlayStation? Have you got Gears of War?
Yes.
I'm glad you finally have realized this stuff. I think it's probably been a therapist that helped get you there.
Yeah.
And
thank you, John Lynn.
It only costs you.
You've taken all the harm out of my life now, and
you guys are wearing kind of similar patterned shirts.
It's true. You got it. Only costs $150 a week.
It's my coming out celebration. So you got to wear plaid. So
we'll get you a dick cage.
It only costs $150 a week and an hour of your time to get your woman to lose all attraction for you forever.
I gotta get going too.
Anyway.
I got overtime in the morning.
You gotta call it good.
Sorry, it was short, guys, but it was good. It was good fun.
Oh yeah,
it's all good.
So
you guys have fun one. I'll just finish this stuff up and then we call it good too.
All right. Well, I'm gonna head out. See ya.
I thought that.
And that, a dad can be different for every family, and so that's been good for me to just not be, and also to not have the stress of being the priesthood leader who is responsible for the souls in his family about whether or not they do all of the milestones. And I think identity for you has also changed.
Yeah, identity has changed a lot as we've rebuilt over the past few years. I think there's been so many layers. I feel like first accepting myself as a businesswoman and a working mom and all that entails, because I definitely had shame and guilt around that when I was in the church. That's not always something that's well respected. And allowing myself
There's one last area. I mean, of course, they talk about that stuff.
To
more.
like,
Yeah, this.
what about rest? What about pleasure? What
Right.
about
Mhm.
enjoyment? What about, yeah.
Right. You could always spend more time in your calling. You can always spend more time with your family. But like, I used to often say that Mormon men were terrible about spending time with other men,
Mhm.
just doing guys trips or doing things that were like platonic relationships and just doing things that they wanted to do, right? To own their identity and not be. And I do think that women obviously are the second class citizen in Mormonism. That men do have it better, but
Mhm.
even Mormon men struggle with their own brand of shame and guilt and what's required of a father and a patriarch in a home. And there's not a lot of selfish things you can do. It's all self-sacrifice for your family, and you need to be able to be a person, have a personal identity, and not just be a number.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so I found
We
They
will
got
allow you that one right now. What's that?
Mormonism bad, women most affected.
Yeah, Mormonism tough on men, women most affected. But you also don't know that you know you're not allowed to go start your men's groups.
Yeah,
Unless
nobody
you're
ever
gonna have
heard of
women
that.
allowed. You're not allowed to do that unless you allow women's in.
You want to hang out with Mormon men? Join the gun club. There's a lot there. Not that all Mormon men shoot guns, but you'll find them there.
Yeah, and then you'll get called a.
You can be
called
platonic.
by Dan McClellan. You'll get called a. What do you call that? Those guys a militia because
Oh
they
yeah.
not shooting. So let's be
Did you
honest here.
how long ago do you think he got the tattoos? Was that before or after he demormoned?
Oh, I'm sure it is after. Let's see. He says the man should not let themselves go and the woman should not let themselves go. Blair White, be a good dad. The stress of priesthood leader, welcoming the lack of responsibility, weak man, the shame and guilt. What the F? Yeah, well, that one's, yeah, you can see how it's going. They come from this prepper world, and I'm not saying that world was great or anything. I think the Lynn's probably over demonizing it, but I bet you it got weird up in there.
For
But
sure.
they're for sure coming out the other side of it too, and it's just going down the typical old cliche path that we watch everything go, and always discovering it like it's new. Like, oh, look at this, the same old traps everybody else fell in.
Yeah.
It's amazingly new. Steven Pinker shared this. This is almost off that subject entirely. The Fall of
Whoa.
Scientific American. I kind of couldn't believe Steven Pinker was up on it, jumping about.
Wow.
Steven
When did
Pinker
this come out?
today, just barely.
Jeez, I gotta look that up.
October 24th, 2023. But it's shared by Steven Pinker, so he's daring to say the thing of Scientific American being a bunch of bullcrappers about the gender stiffs. But I was shocked that Steven Pinker got on it.
Huh, that is nuts.
Yeah. Let's see here. I had a bunch of. There's already stuff that we talked about earlier. We talked a little bit about jouissance of the leftists, which is the concept of you enjoy. To be able to enjoy something, you kind of have to not enjoy it. And there was this episode put out by Jared, the guy from Wisecrack, talking about the wokeness. And he's talking about the concept of the straw, the straw that's that's going to kill the world because it's a bad climate straw. Your new straw is going to be a piece of shit. They can't make the new straw good because you can't make the thing better that's helping the world. You have to get some sort of jouissance out of the idea that you're sacrificing. Like for the people who are into that sort of thing, the new thing must necessarily be worse because they get an enjoyment out of the shittiness.
Yeah.
So even if
I
like
get
we were in a world like they could do like better climate stuff and all that sorts of deal, there's a weird psychological twinge in all of them that no, we have to suffer for this. We must suffer for this. It's like even if there was like a magical better thing, they wouldn't do it. They're going to choose the things that just make everything a little bit worse and a little bit more frustrating and irritating. Let me see here.
You see that a lot with Jehovah's Witnesses and like blood transfusions.
Yeah.
Like they have all kinds of like faith promoting stories about people that refuse blood transfusions. And it's like a badge of honor, obviously to sacrifice, even though you could just get the blood transfusion and live.
So, oh gosh, you got all the different. Dan McCullen's been his typical doinky self lately. I don't know if I want to pull any of those up, but
Man, he's at the point now, like he's the simplest thing to parody. He's really one dimensional.
yeah. So we got a new speaker, and he's calling him a standard Christian nationalist, and he's got to always drop what do you call him, like a $10 word and this stuff. Tergiversation.
Yeah, that's a new one to me. I don't know that word.
It just means misreading, like a live misreading.
Tergiversation.
But it's him showing off again. He always has one. He always has one in this thing. He's just constantly showing off. He's such
Make conflicting or evasive statements. Equivocate. That's you, Dan. It's the iron law of Dan projection. You're the tergiversator.
Yeah. But without the proper contextualization, without the proper Dan-approved contextualization, but ignores that the Bible also says people are given power so example can be made of them.
Slam dunk.
You gotcha. Yeah, so he had that, and then he had this land back type thing. Saw a cool thing in the British Museum today, but they really should give this stuff back.
Whoa.
How long? Well, wherever they got it from. I mean, most things in the world, the reason they preserved it is because warring people in those places, as we know they are warring, they just blew up the third oldest church and Christian church.
No, but I mean, because is that like ancient Egyptian shit? So like, it's like a culture and a people that don't exist and aren't there. Like the people that are there
they're not really there. They're only the successors.
They're the colonizers, actually.
The settlers.
So we give it back to the colonizers? Why?
The settlers, man. Those settlers. That word's been coming up so much more lately. It's like all of a sudden the whole world rediscovered the word settler, which specifically lands on Fanon. I mean,
you heard about that thing about the settlers of Catan dropped it? Yes. The game, they announced they because of this, they don't want to. They fucking woke and they just dropped it, and now it's just called Catan.
Oh, brother, what a bunch of lameness. Well, I guess all the preppers and people in the world are going to be like this guy. Do you see these Fed postings from Robert Card, the guy who shot up the world yesterday? A lot of people are pointing this like, look at these Fed posts, but who knows what it is or not. Robert Card, I can't stand these damn non-whites ruining our country. They don't deserve to live. Robert Card, I've had enough of this political correctness bullshit. It's time to take matters into my own hands. Robert Card, I've trained to kill, and I am damn good at it. These people will pay for what they've done to our country. Robert Card, it's time to make a statement. I'll show them what a true American is capable of. They won't know what hit them. Robert Card, I've got my guns and plenty of ammo. Let's make America great again by getting rid of these scum. Robert Card, I won't stop until every last one of them is gone. This is my duty as an American. Robert Card, they can hide from me. I know their patterns, their hangouts. I'll hunt them down and take them out one by one. The Army trained me to be a killer, and I'll use every tactic I learned to make sure these non-whites regret ever stepping foot in our country. What? No one will stop me. I have a mission. I'll see it through until the end. God bless America.
That's too on the nose and stupid.
Everybody's saying it's Fed posting. Like that's 100% Fed posting is what they're all claiming. But it just does not sound real at all.
Well, because also like, is there? I mean, what little I've heard is that he fired indiscriminately, which is so like what everybody in Maine is the scum he's talking about. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
that's weird.
So this is the Christian nationalist that Dan McClellan's hyperventilating about.
Oh yeah.
And I've thought often through all these ordeals over the last couple of weeks about the difference in the experiences between my two 14-year-old sons, Michael being a Black American and Jack being white, Caucasian. They have different challenges. My son Jack has an easier path. He just does. The interesting thing about both of these kids, Michael and Jack, is they're both handsome, articulate, really talented kids, gifted by God to do lots of things. But the reality is, and no one can tell me otherwise, my son Michael had a harder time than my son Jack is going to have simply because of the color of his skin. And that's a reality. It's an uncomfortable, painful one to acknowledge. but people have to recognize that's a fact.
What should we do about
Jeez.
that?
That's the new Republican Speaker of the House.
Oh, good. You guys picked the right one, I guess.
The
And by the
one-
way, like, what a shambolic shit show. God damn, the Republicans suck. Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm like, I'm not rooting for them or anything, but just like as an observer, you know, like watching a football game that I don't care which team wins. I'm just into the spectacle. Like, that was a shit show. Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, they landed on that, dude.
Well, good job. The Democrats got their way. That's one thing. It was one of the most recent things that I've seen that the Onion said that was funny. And it was right at the beginning of all this when they kicked the McCarthy guy out. And it was something about how, like, you know, GOP defeat, greatest GOP victory in years. And which is basically how they're trying to read, you know, like the hardcore ones.
Yeah.
You know, it's like because they shot themselves in the foot so badly there. It's just, I don't know. Stupid. That's why I don't vote for Republicans, because they're stupid.
This is how men got to treat women if they want women to want them. Here you go. This is how to get a girl interested.
There he is. Forget it, girlfriend. He's only got eyes for God. Everything's got a price, but he's a Christian. Hey, Billy.
No.
There he is.
What is that?
Forget it, girlfriend. He's
Yeah.
only got eyes for God. Everything's got a price, but he's a Christian. Hey, Billy.
No. What is that from?
I have no idea. It cracks me up though.
That is good.
I'll show this one more time. We showed it earlier with Jared, but you probably wouldn't see
Speaking
it
up about this, and your silence.
because I know you've heard this a million times in your life. This is actually one of the things that Lindsay Hansen was saying when we got in a, irritated with her because they said you guys are being silent about these kids in cages, and so they said, okay, here's our opinion, and you didn't want our opinion, but we weren't until we heard for the first time ever at that point, your silence speaks everything. Said, okay, we'll speak up,
Yeah.
Some of you have not been speaking up about this, and your silence is deafening. And if you do not know what you are talking about and you aren't affected by it, you should not be speaking up about this. And the fact that you are not speaking up about this terrifies us. And you need to stop speaking about things that you don't know anything about. And if you don't know about this, you need to educate yourself. And now is the time to reach out and ask us questions. But we are not here to educate you. And you need to if you do not know these things, you should not be adding your voice to the conversation. And the fact that you are not raising your voices right now terrifies us. Because no matter what you're doing, you're dumb and you fucking suck. Internet was a mistake.
Yeah, no, he hits the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Ryan Long would have done it faster and better, but
Okay, so this is an old Saturday Night Live clip, but I want to show it because it's not that old, and I want to show the word that they drop, and I don't know how much Saturday Night Live stuff I can show, but watch this.
Whoa.
Danny. Whatever, kid. Hey, you can fulfill your dreams. This is North America. We usually just say America. That's right, kid.
Mark Wallers.
You can do anything you want to do. 'Cause this ain't Russian sport.
But Russia's a democracy now.
Quit being a fag. You get the point.
That's it. That's like 2010.
Yeah.
Mark Wallers called me a fag.
That's 2000. Like, when was Chris Kattan on? Like, that's like 2007, 8, 9.
I mean, it's just amazing to me how fast this stuff goes. Because, like, on TV, you couldn't say fag. Not like that wasn't an allowed word, even though, like, even in the most homophobic of the nightmarish times of our childhood in the 90s, when we just got the message never to say those things. Right. But then, like, South Park by like around 2000 had their wonderful episode about fag, and it was hilarious. And obviously they said it all the time, and they kind of broke the barrier. And so, like, okay, well, that's okay. It's like, I don't know. I feel like words are like presents. It's the thought that counts. And then already, just in 20 years, we've already cycled all the way back to, oh no, that you can't say that word. Not even satirically. It's just so crazy how fast it goes.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. 2010ish. That had to have been. When do we
Yeah.
get invites to Longhouse? I'll shoot out invites to Longhouse. We haven't started posting on it yet, but I showed them the
Oh, shut
Longhouse
up.
page. I'm thinking about starting. The idea of it came from this. Let's see here. This Twitter post. Space Age Maximalist. The Longhouse is not only a social phenomenon, but extends into the technological realm. The sclerotic nomos of the mammy is indistinguishable from the safetyist committees strangling budding industries. I got always these faces like that's. You can ask like what the Longhouse is, but then you can also just like look at these faces and go like, well, that's the Longhouse. Tell me you don't feel that everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like you're getting that face everywhere you're going nowadays, As Dr. Whatever points out in his thesis, the aristocracy, once installed in this rule, can only find the full expression of its inborn quality by regularly re-wielding itself. The trope of the usurped prince training in the forest so no one becomes king. The modern engineer scientist of true genius and creative powers finds themselves in an equally usurped position. Midwits and paper pushers have killed innovation with peer review, journal gatekeeping, grant seeking, regulation, and so forth. So like that's
Yeah, I'm
where,
kept hitting a second.
yeah. And that's the whole point is like it extends like all these oversight agencies is the Longhouse. I mean, it's all the oversight agencies are just the same. It's the guy in Ghostbusters who's shutting down the Ghostbusters. That's the Longhouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yes, people said I had to fill out a form saying I had a disability.
Yeah,
so
that's the Longhouse. Yeah. Yeah, and you've also had to pull the same crap just so you can like get a proper vacation.
Oh yeah, no, I had to just so I could leave the country and like that's crazy.
Says I believe the academic route is simply not the right path for those with true creative force. Neither is working for the government, unless of course you are intentionally sabotaging the MIC. It's true that like the Ghostbusters, that original Ghostbusters is like an ode to true creativity versus the Longhouse. I mean, that's what that whole movie is really, really about. The Longhouse, man. The people of the Bronx are oppressed by the occupying force of the NYPD, just like the Palestinians are occupied and oppressed by the Israeli occupied forces.
That's a quote.
Oppressed by the occupying force of the NYPD. Just like the Palestinians are occupied and oppressed by the Israeli occupation forces.
Dude. Like, what if because here's the thing, like, just imagine that like Israel heard this and they're like, all right, we'll trade. We'll take the NYPD, you take Hamas, and then everything will be fine, right?
Yeah.
See how you like that?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that video of her. Is it terrifying?
It's basically just her looking like that, dancing around like that.
Yeah, that's not real good. That's not real good at all. She had an abortion. Did you see she had Justin Timberlake's abortion?
Yeah, maybe that's what drove her insano. I have no idea. Did you see the stuff about Jon Stewart getting canceled, and then they try to save face? Yeah, they canceled the show, and he said
was he on Apple TV?
Yeah. He said it's because they didn't let him do his stuff on China, but everybody's looking at it saying, no, that's a lie. You were just canceled for ratings.
Well, yeah. Jon Stewart, how to prove them wrong. Go on YouTube and do your shit on China.
Exactly. Jon Stewart does not need Apple TV to get millions of views. And
you could hire all of Crowder's production team away from him just by promising to have donuts and weekends off.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't even need that. You could just go on and talk like we're talking on YouTube right here, and you'll get millions of views. But is that what your kitty's like?
Not. Oh, I need to get something like that for her.
Well,
I've never
the whole
seen her
thing's
do
showing
that.
is that they stay in the. They don't take it. They don't use it.
No, my cat likes her tree. That's why. I need to get her a new one though. Big facts.
So listen to this. Tim Dillon made this. It cracked me up.
Here at Pizza Hut, we know what it's like to be the underdog. We know what it's like to keep losing ground. And most of all, Pizza Hut knows what it's like to want a bigger piece of the pie. That's why here at Pizza Hut, we're now offering halal options. Everybody has the right of return to great pizza. And just in case you're still confused, Pizza Hut stands with Hamas. From the river to the sea to the cheese. No one out-pizzas Hamas.
That's perfect satire. Almost never do you get perfect satire, and that's perfect satire.
Salt Lake Tribune's been on all the book bannings, man. They sure dug them up.
The ones that never happened?
Yeah, and they always kind of pull up the ones that get pulled out of the schools, and they really are porny, and there are always people in the comment sections pointing it out to them, and they just go, every single time. It's so funny.
I've tried. I've never gotten an answer because, like, in the NPR sections, I always say something satirical, and people always jump on me and whatever. And it just started asking questions like, well, okay, well, you tell me, what's the age that you think children should learn how to perform fellatio from a public school teacher? You tell me your line. Like, I'm genuinely curious to know what your line is here. Because, like, Florida said 8. and you don't like that. So tell me, where's your line?
So all the stuff's been coming out. The George Floyd doctors kind of fudged this stuff, and they didn't find any proof of asphyxiation. Although a lot of people already knew that back then. It's just now it's coming mainstream.
Oh, it's allowed to be talked about now.
Yeah, like
so
many
that's
different
one of those
things.
things where it's like, I mean, I swear, like Reddit knew everything. Like, I mean, a lot of like New York Times and stuff are still pretending not to know. But like, yeah, like that he had a lethal dose of fentanyl, that he had COVID. That was all stuff that you learned on Reddit and Twitter long before any of the mainstream news talked about it.
Yeah. Check this out. I thought this was a kind of interesting because we're always talking about how like the our world here that they call patriarchal really was gynocentric. Let's see. Twitter keeps telling me to verify my identity with the driver's license, so I might not be able to join. I will never give up any personal documents to get on a stupid social media. You can't get on Twitter. When is Jacob Hansen going to be let back into the Longhouse? Jacob can come into the Longhouse, although Flip got kicked. Like Jacob was protesting getting kicked out of the other one, but
I didn't even get kicked out. I got banned for the third time. I asked him, like, because I got banned 3 times. The first 2 times, I'm like, I didn't break a rule. He's like, you're right. I'll unban you. The third time, he's like, well, you get reported a lot. And I said, what rule did I break? And he simply never answered. And I said, whatever, I'm out because this is just stupid at this point.
But we'll see if people start popping in. We'll start. So a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing on here, I share with myself, but we sharing stuff in a group. But we can maybe just start sharing that stuff just the same, and we all have the same share space in a Facebook group where we're kind of controlling it. I've always kind of thought about how would I actually moderate it though, because Flip and I for years were in different groups that we watched just get taken over entirely by the.
I don't know if it can be done. Like I think there's like you reach a certain size and it just.
That's why I'm trying the hunch of maybe a den mother doubling into it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying we're gonna have free speech and do this stuff, I'm gonna double into like I'm the den mother and I say what goes. But, let's see here. Check this out. So this is some TikTok. A lot of people liked it because 4.4 million views. How Arab dads treat their sons versus how they treat their daughters. Well, from everything we've heard around that world, right? Well, I mean, we're going to assume that it's whoop the daughter and sell her into slavery, right? Versus
exactly.
Hey, Mama.
My daughter's home. My daughter's home. Yes, my daughter's home.
Yes, yes, yes. What did you do?
Papa, I have to tell you something.
What happened? What's happened?
I spent $7,000 on your credit card
That's
today.
okay. That's no problem. No,
Okay,
you're
thanks,
good.
Papa.
That's okay. Ah! Yes, علينا. Yes, علينا. Yes. Shh. Eat that. اخرس. Be quiet, man. Get out of that. Get daddy out. Get daddy out. Papa, we don't have any more food. Allah! Allah! Look in the fridge. Open the fridge, mother shit. Open it, man. When you see that, huh? Always you want to take. Always you want to ask. Always you want to take. Never want to give. Never want to help. Never want to do nothing but take, mother shit.
I just need money. You're literally like my sister. Take your credit card.
Oh, now you want to be sister. Now you want to be a sister. You want earrings here and here. You don't want to be Farzan. You want to be Farzi. You want to be Farzi.
Well, I'm sure that's the one exception.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not any sort of a stereotype that is actually true and happens out there in any way, shape, or form.
I've talked about like 15 years ago or more. Like I did roadside assistance. There's a lot of like stereotypes that like hold up, which is like, I mean, Asian people only drive Asian cars. It's just a thing. And then also, like, anytime it was a Subaru Forester at a Whole Foods, it was lesbians with a big dog. It's like magic. And then the other one is that if it was like an older, like a 20 to 30-year-old Mercedes-Benz in pristine condition, Arabs and Persians every time. Like, it's amazing.
All right, are you ready to get as irritated as we can get? We've already seen one super cuck, but we're gonna.
Oh boy, we got another one.
Make propagandistic posters for the Longhouse group. We could start putting people in and see if people want to do it. Yeah, and we'll actually do posts too. There's the stuff that we share in other places, but who knows if it will get out of control or crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So. I'm telling you, this is gonna.
You are such a good dad. I did the cooking and the cleaning and the groceries and the laundry, fed the cat and the dog, and someone stole my coffee. Got a gift for your mother that you probably won't like. Paid a bill, wiped her butt, broke up a couple fights. Then I just about lost my mind, cause we both took the kids to the park, and someone said to you, you are such a good dad. You are such a good dad.
And he films the video with her. Leave her, dude. Leave her.
Yeah, there's nobody ever praised woman or housekeeping. No, that was never a thing.
No.
Nobody ever said they appreciated it. No, it's just suffering and no recognition.
Really, what is she's resentful that you got one compliment. That's really what that whole entire song she wrote's about. She's resentful that anybody said anything positive to you at all.
The other thing is like, I also know, is this really all the story is, or did he do something else at the park that they saw and said, "Oh, well, that's really something," you know?
Yeah.
Is that possibility? But that's just, I don't know. It's just amazing to me that, because like it's so hateful, and it's just so out there, and people are smiling about it. And I think like in like the cartoonish imagination of what people think that like white supremacist America is like they are exactly that. We're like that their bigotry, they don't even bother hiding it. They're just right on the surface with everything.
Yeah. Check this out.
Day 2 of talking to my boss like an insecure girlfriend. All right, so I'll get it to you by the end of the week.
Yeah, sure.
What do you mean, sure?
I just mean sure, man. That's fine.
Are you mad at me?
Is that really a series, or is that the only one?
I don't know if there's more. I could check to see if he's.
Like, 'cause if that was an actual series, I really want to see the rest of those.
I have lived through that for sure. That's pretty good.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's just some kids. Well, I guess they're not kids. Who knows how old they are?
What
Performers.
is that?
Yeah.
That's something else.
Have you seen from the New Yorker the visual power of black rest?
They are their own satire. Oh my god! It's almost like random number generator. Like you just fill in the blanks. You know, like I'm trying to think of like the Deepak Chopra saying generator type thing. Like okay, the visual power, cultural comment. Black people are generally pictured as doing anything but relaxing. They are? I thought that like lazy black guys hanging out instead of working was a racist stereotype. Is that because that's relaxing? And like frankly, like if you've got your life where it figured out to where you can relax, good for you. What's wrong with that? What the hell are they talking about? Or as being attached or agitating or performing. The Black Rest Project. It's a project.
Yeah.
It's to widen the lens. What the fuck is this shit? God damn it. I guarantee that's like a grant.
Yeah.
I guarantee they're getting public money for their project.
Well, in the same week,
Oh my god.
a feminist take on Orwell's 1984 reads like the original, only better. Sandra Newman takes on George Orwell's 1984 in a reinvention blessed by the late author's estate. I heard they're going to make a movie of that one too. But at the same time, that other magazine was coming out calling George Orwell a racist, bigotistophobe at the same time. Got to take down Orwell.
So funny to say that just happened in the NPR comments. I made a satirical comment about that. They did an article about like, are you thinking of polyamory? Here's what you should know, you know. And I made a dumb satirical comment. Some guy, you know, like they always do, like they react, and he sent me this whole thing about like Orwell wasn't a real socialist and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, the fuck are you? It's like magic. How NPC they are, because here we are. Here they are doing it again.
Yeah.
George Orwell was a sadistic, misogynistic, homophobic, and sometimes well, who isn't? According to them. According to them. Are there any men who aren't that?
Rice says, true, my wife is Asian. Toyota, Lexus, Honda. That's what they drive. Bring on the discomfort. I heard the youngins like this thing called Discord. Oh, yeah, we could do that too. Just stop doing it. Leave your kids and family and start stripping in Vegas. You saw Judith Butler on Democracy Now! Is that recent or an old one? I saw her on an old one. They have some real insightful stuff to say about Israel, really. Which side does Judith Butler go on that? I mean, I'm guessing she's full Hamas. I know she runs around with what's the dude, the tall-haired dude that was running for Democratic thing, and now he's supported Hamas and he's back out again. Calls everybody my brother. What's his name?
Can't think of who you're talking about.
He's always on Bill Maher, the black.
Not Cornell West.
Cornell West.
That is Cornell West.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy is a fraud, I think.
Check this thing out. This is one of the things going around that's going to be one of the most confusing things about our future. That car is completely AI generated.
Wow.
You're able to do like 3D visuals going around it while it's on fire.
They're moving the smoke around with that big floppy thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's gonna get pretty tough to believe anything you're looking at.
Yeah.
So, look at this. I thought this was kind of interesting. History will record the most important fact about Me Too is that Aziz Ansari lost his career over an awkward date, and no one lost a thing for going to Epstein Island.
That's really saying something. That really is. Holy shit. It's like, I feel so bad for that guy. Like, what
Yeah.
a dumb thing to end your career.
Yeah. Well, that's just like I mentioned earlier today. I was talking about like I had people reporting people my work because somebody asked somebody on a date, and I just saw this thing. I think I shared it with you guys. I'll pull it up here. That it was right on the news here. This is on Fox 13 News. It says first date no-nos. Women make lists of places men shouldn't take them on first dates, and it's like all these like restaurants that are really nice restaurants. And I know in the working world, women are reporting men for even like asking them out. You know, it's a little bit weird and awkward for me because I'm in a world where I'm like the HR guy and I can say to him, like, look, he's not your boss. You guys are coworkers or whatever. He said no and accepted no for an answer. He was allowed to ask you out. He's allowed to do that. Like he's a human.
Yeah.
He can ask you on a date. You know, we'd say we'd prefer you like you wouldn't do it like here at work or something like that. But if he's not your boss, like we aren't a strong enough longhouse to control him to not be attracted to you and not want to ask you on a date. Like we're still not quite yet in that world of Orwell, Brazil.
Just wait.
Whatever. You just wait because it's coming, and you will be fired for it in the future. But yeah, a Cheesecake Factory isn't good enough for.
I have never been to Cheesecake Factory, and I've never been
Never?
to PF Chang's isn't on this list. Maybe I should take a date to PF Chang's.
You
I've
wouldn't
never
like
been there.
PF Chang, both of them you wouldn't like. They'd be a little bit too bubblegum for you. Both of them.
I wonder.
No, they would. I mean, they're neither one of them are like anything sort of authentic. Cheesecake Factory does a thing that lets you know that like you can't trust it that much in the sense of like the cheesecake's like overly rich and good, but it's. I mean, whenever I remember I took a Mexican girl there and she couldn't eat 2 bites of it, curled her teeth, but you know it's got trouble because the menu is a book long.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
And
it's like what's going on in the kitchen that you are able to do this?
Yeah, there's no way that like you can order these many things and it's normal out there. So, did you see Patrice Cullors what she's doing now?
No. Oh, this should be interesting.
Oops, there's a Dan McClellan being Dan McClellan. Ooh. I like
Kurt
the
Metzger.
Kurt Metzger. First, I stood with LGBTQ because it was trendy. Then I stood with immigrants because my maid is here illegally. Then I stood with BLM because I thought it made me look not racist. Then I stood with the literal Nazis in Ukraine because Putin. And now I stand alone because I am a twat. I wanted to see what BLM co-founder Patrice Cullors has been up to since she resigned from the organization, never being called to the carpet for all the millions she squandered.
She stole the money.
She is now doing performance art.
Oh my God. That's hubris. Wow. No, she stole the money. She painted herself gold, and now she's saying, "Look at me.
Yeah,
I'm the golden woman that stole all the money."
She's Hunter Biden it. Is probably getting paid millions of dollars from the same dipshits who want to.
Everybody in there just applauded. Like the people are there. They paid money. They want to be seen there. It's man. Wow.
Yeah. Free LGBTQ influencer trip to Gaza. Sign up. Anyway, when's your trip? It's not next week. It's the week after.
It's the week after. It's 11 days, I think. No, how many days? What is today? Thursday? 10 days? I don't know. It's Sunday the 5th.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you know
Today.
this?
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna because
We're still on subject.
if we were wrapping it up, but because today I went to a wake, but before the wake was it was a Buddhist guy who died, and so I saw a Buddhist funeral, and it was interesting, but mostly just because I mean it's so much like every other kind of funeral because this guy was complicated, so we're doing a funeral mass tomorrow. And I've been to Catholic masses before, and it's just funny because it's a guy in a funny clothes speaking a language you don't know, and he's got like little implements, and they sing and stuff. And that's basically what the Buddhists did, And it's funny because as different as they are, it's also all very the same. But also just damn, Mormon funerals suck. They're the worst. They're so bad, and Mormon weddings are bad. And it's like Mormonism as a religion is so bad at those kinds of things.
They never felt like greatly. I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why maybe I'm kind of a bit harsh on people when they're like, "You didn't let us into the temple for the wedding." Like you wanted to go into that part,
you didn't want to go.
You ain't missing nothing.
There's no food. There's nothing to drink.
That's just the part where they're just kind of sitting there, kneeling there, and then they go back out, and it's fast and awkward.
Oh, there's a picture of it right there. I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
That's the room.
A year ago, a Latter-day Saint legal scholar shared a way for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to conduct same-sex sealings in its temples and remain true to its teachings.
Oh, that's how that works. Yeah, a legal scholar.
But think of all the LGBT tiers of the people who wouldn't be allowed in to watch them get sealed if they weren't full tithe payers and all that stuff. It would just be problematic. At least us modern Protestants never had great rituals and liturgy. Flip, where are you going? He's asking.
England. There's a new Beatles coming out. Did you hear?
No.
They used AI.
Is it modern day Beatles where we're gonna get like a South Park, like a recast Beatles? It's gonna be like a black lady, and the world's gonna tell us this is the new Beatles, and I'm like, it's a black lady, a woman of color, a trans man, and who knows what. This is the Beatles. No, it's not the Beatles. Bigot. This is the Beatles. No, it's not the Beatles. You bigot. This is a reimagined Beatles for our time.
I'm way more excited for the new South Park than I am for the last Beatles song ever. But no, they say that it's a demo of a John Lennon song, and the demo was shit. But they tried to record it back when they did the anthology thing. But George Harrison is like, this is too shit. But then they're able to use the magic of AI to reconstruct the vocals as though they weren't shit. And then they still had recordings of George Harrison when they tried in the 90s. And then Paul and Ringo finished it up. So apparently they're releasing it, and it's the last ever Beatles song.
When's that coming out?
November 2nd.
Wow. Day of the Dead. People say, have some great English ale for me, Cascale.
Yes.
Good for mailman. Drink some for me. Don't let the coppers bang you with their billy clubs. Good for you. Yeah, there's a cool story behind that whole thing. But
no, it's gonna be fun.
But
I might try. I'm not sure if I'm gonna pull it off, but I was thinking about going to church while I'm there just to see what English church is like. Going to Mormon church.
Is the family you're staying with still Mormon-y?
I'm not staying with any family. I'm staying in. If you ever saw, you remember Onslow and Daisy's place on Keeping Up Appearances?
Yeah.
It looks like that. It looks.
Nice.
I think it's what they call council housing. And yeah, that's what it looks like.
Wow.
It's the cheapest place I could find in Merseyside. But also, because the other thing, I'm a little bit worried that there's a bait and switch because the reviews are like, "Hey, this isn't what they said." But I got it because it had a kitchen. They said it had an in-room kitchen, which is okay, that's good because I'm going to be there for 2 weeks, and that way I can save money just by.
What did the reviews say about it?
Well, that's things. This is what I'm wondering about because some people said, "Hey, that's not at all what I was advertised," but I think it might have been different units within it because what it looks like is that a whole block or a whole row of these little council houses have been adapted into hotels, and I think some of them are hostel style. Because the way mine is advertised is that it's an apartment, basically. So I'm assuming that they mean apartment. But some of them, like, they complained that it was like a hostel and that like there was shared bathrooms and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll figure out when I get there. Whatever. It was cheap, and that's the other critical thing and why I got it is that free parking. Because like I was looking at the more expensive proper places in town in Liverpool, and it would say like, parking available £20 a night, which is like $30 a night just to park a fucking car, which is ridiculous. I had a steak and kidney pie in America. There used to be a New Zealand bakery in Kearns for a few years that was really good, and they did real English stuff. They did sausage rolls and steak and kidney pies. I miss them. No, I'm excited. The food stuff, like I don't know if I'll have the chance because I'm not sure how much of London I'll get to see. But if I get to, I'm going to try jellied eel, which is one of Chris Hanna's nightmares.
Ugh. Not only that, like driving there would be one of my nightmares. I would not be able to drive.
I don't know. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you're nuts," but like I feel like it's just you adapt. How different? Can
I
it
think
be?
you'd be able to. Fine. I don't think I would be able to.
Oh yeah,
think
that's
you would
true.
agree
You are
that
a
I would
terrible
not
driver.
be able to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drive with you in England, but like I think I'll adapt. Yeah.
Yeah. Says be willing to chat with them about stuff as soon as you get there. If you have the problem, it's hard to resolve halfway through. Well, that's coming up, so you'll still have one more week before that. You're off doing that for
Yeah.
a while.
No, I'll have one more week, and then yeah, because it's 7 hours ahead. I don't think I'll be able to join you while I'm there, but maybe we'll see.
I'd be adventurous. I'm adventurous. I'm not stupid. Like I'm a bad driver. Like there's no way
He is a
around it.
very bad driver. He's not good at driving.
Every day I drive, I go, that was lucky. Like I made and if I had to like mentally switch over to the other side of the road, I would not do well at it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's one thing for me. I feel like it'll be easier just because.
Oh, the eel. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
the jellied eel. That's what I was talking
okay. So I went to my mission in Mexico, man, and we had rules that we tried everything. I'll try everything. In fact, I don't like salmon, and I've tried it 50,000 times. Like I'll try it again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'll try it again and say, nope, don't like it again. Like I'm not like a wuss of stuff. I'll put stuff in my mouth. I just won't like it. You know.
Yeah. No, but yeah, jellied eel is cold jellied eel.
That sounds terrible. I'd put it in my mouth though if I was there.
Apparently, it's like a famous old working class London thing.
Ugh. You'd probably try that Finnish stuff. What is that there?
The surströmming. I do want to try surströmming. So I think some of our didn't we? I think we had listeners that went to Sweden or Finland and knew surströmming.
I think it was Christopher, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but there's
I
another
definitely
one.
want to try that.
There's another like the super old fermented shark. Is that what that is?
No, that's Hiskarl.
I have no idea how to say it. Then there's like this other like weird kind of like fermented grape nut stuff that I remember my older brother brought from Finland.
Huh. I don't know that one.
I'll have to ask him about it. It was weird.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things I'd like to try. Although I think it's funny, like I already told you about how it's funny. I was looking at all the chippies, and all the chippies are Chinese takeouts. Like,
Yeah. I heard the Lotus Eaters talking about that recently.
Although I did find I don't know if I'll get to go there because it's in London, but because like one of the things I was just talking about it today with somebody who's in Iraq, but there's a famous Iraqi dish which is like a fire roasted carp.
Lutefisk, that's the word. Yeah.
Lutefisk. And there's a place that makes it in London, but I don't know if I'll get to try that.
I'm more than positive I would not enjoy eating in England. I'm more than positive I wouldn't.
Yeah, I bet you. It seems.
Although if I was like on diet, I bet you I'd be able to stay on diet pretty well. Just like give me some like some chicken over there or whatever. But
that's another thing I saw that I'm interested in because they have a lot of West African restaurants. Because in Salt Lake we have a smattering of East African restaurants, but we don't have any West African restaurants. There's actually one like not far from the place I'm staying that I'm kind of curious about checking out. But yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna do a big road trip.
I live in Minnesota and had Lutefisk there, which they have. Norwegian is. I'm sorry for you, Chris. Bad place to be right now. I heard they disbanded cops.
I don't know. Cops.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Charlie's staring at me expectantly.
Charlie dog.
Hunt y'all way. Now he stood up and he's waiting for words. So yeah, I got to take him. So sweet, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. If you're still here, I think that about wraps it up.
There's a lot of Somalis in Utah. I mean, a lot, by
Yeah, I actually go drink kava all the time at night with my band. We'll go to kava.
No, that's Samoans. We're talking about Somalis.
Oh,
Yeah.
Somalis. Yeah, I was mixing.
So
them up.
there's a neighborhood they call Little Somalia. We've got enough, but I don't know if any of them have opened a proper restaurant. But that's also East African. But yeah, we have a few Ethiopian. We have an Oromo place, and I think we have Somali places. But yeah, I'm looking for like Ghanaian Nigerian stuff. That crazy peanut chicken soup thing they're famous for. Anyway, alrighty. Walking the Charlie dog.
Yeah, thanks for chilling. Catch y'all
Cool.
later.
See you.
Bye-bye.